Hello, Hidden Podcast Pro.
Close. Fans, friends, followers, family.
Hello, Hidden Pearls podcast, friends, fans, and family. Ooh, I'm having trouble. Anyway, hey, welcome to week 8 of the season. The Niners are off to Chicago to play the Bears.
Bears.
Monsters of the Midway, all of that kind of stuff. So wish them luck on their journey. Just invite you for the show. This is a great show, so stay in there. We have George sitting down with the legendary, soon-to-be Hall of Fame kicker, Robbie Gould, who obviously spent 11 seasons in Chicago, all-time leading scorer for Chicago, so has some great insights. And I will say, of all the shows we've had so far this year, they've all been really good, and we dropped some nuggets. But I would say Robbie was dropping them, and we had a great conversation. So a lot of learning around mindset and visioning and just doing things for the common good. Then we also, we were hooked up again with our good friends at MVP, Merging Vets and Players. And we have Oscar Kush out of Chicago. He's the program manager for the MVP out of Chicago. And great show. He had 2 tours. He's a Marine Corps veteran and shared some of the journey that he's had coming back and settling in and moving from California to Chicago. So great chat with him and really highlights, I think, some of the issues that our veterans are facing. So really good that way. And we thank Oscar for being part of the show. So again, stay tuned. Great show. We're thrilled to bring it to you and hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. Thank you. Okay. That is a signal. This is the Hidden Pearls podcast. I am Bruce Kittle. I'm with Emma Kittle and George Kittle and our special guest, Robbie, the Boot Gould. So we're very excited to have him on. So Robbie, we are on Zoom and we are recording this. And I just want to make sure that you know we're recording it and you're okay with it and that this is part of our podcast. And my dearest daughter, eldest, will be soon putting this all together, editing it, and it will be broadcast out on all available media outlets for podcast. Are you okay with all that?
All set.
Excellent.
Woo!
Welcome. All right. Welcome to the show. Shall we? All right. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to clap and then we say action. So you don't have to do it, but we do it just because it's part of our show.
It's kind of funny.
All right. So here we go.
All right. Ready? 3, 2,
1. Action. Yeah. All right.
Woo! All right, Hidden Pearls podcast fans, this week, week 8, the Niners are once again on the road, this time to the Windy City, back to the monsters of the Midwest, the Bears. Our player guest this week is one of our Niners with a history and a strong connection to Chicago and these very Bears, the one and only Robbie Gould. One of the most prolific kickers in the history of the NFL, not just the Niners, not just the Bears, the NFL. We are so excited to have him with us. So Robbie, welcome to the Hidden Pearls podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. It's obviously great to join the Kittle crew. This is it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, baby. We have some fun in here, Robbie. You know, we're gonna uncover some hidden gems about Robbie Gould, and
Robbie Gould
might learn a thing or two in the process. But it's my honor to be able to read your bio, which I'm excited about because you've done a lot of things, and it's not just because you're old, Robbie.
I think it is. I'm 38, George. This is year 17. You know, I used to have hair when I first started this. You know, your dad and I, we get it. It's nice. You don't have to wake up in the morning. There's no conditioner, and you know, shaving the sides like you got the ponytail, George. I am jealous of it, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll get you a wig for Christmas.
Robbie, I saw a picture of you though. It was one of the Bears ones, and you were kind of it was going thin here, and you had pretty thick hair on the side, you know. And I've never seen you, you know, with that. It's just a different look. So anyway, the Bears, and then eventually you started shaving.
So here's a wild story about how I lost my hair. 1, the National Football League, and 2, one of my teammates was having a cancer child come to the facility, and a bunch of our teammates come and shave our head. And honestly, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It's just hair. What do I care for? So we all shaved it in support of this kid, and it never grew back. So like it was so exciting because it was like for like an awesome cause. And then I just like, it never would grow back. So I just told my wife, like, I guess it's time to just buzz it. So I started buzzing it. And so I guess ingrained in me, you know, I'm always big into giving back. So I guess if I was going to lose my hair, that would kind of be the way that I'd want to obviously lose it and continue to just keep a shaved bald head now.
Well, you look great.
You too.
Yes.
I have to grow out the
Wow.
beard though. I'm gonna have to start doing that, huh?
Yes, Robbie, grow it out.
Grow
Get
it
it
out.
nice
Playoff
and-
beard.
Have you
Yes,
ever
sir.
have you ever had a big
Start it
beard?
now.
When we made the playoffs, I think in 2010, we did playoff beards, and my beard doesn't like grow like in thick or long. It just like gets bushy. So like by the end of the playoffs, it was literally like itching and like curled in. I couldn't wait to shave it off.
Oh, that's
Well, it
awesome.
takes time.
Well-
you got to give her a chance. So, okay.
This
All
might
right.
be one of my favorite intros to the podcast yet. I just
It's a good story. Great story. But now, Robbie, we're going to move on to your bio because, like I said, I got to talk about a lot of stuff here. Robbie Gould is an American place kicker with the San Francisco 49ers. He went to the University of Penn State, the Nittany Lions.
Can you do that again, George?
That's what Penn State sounds like to me. But he was an undrafted free agent to New England in 2005 and eventually ended up with the Chicago Bears, where he was for 11 seasons or 10?
11.
11. Got it. 2005 to 2015. Some would say that's a long time, Robbie. And you became the franchise's leading scorer, all-time leading scorer, which I think that's pretty impressive. Congratulations on that. And then in 2017, he said, you know what? The Niners are drafting George Kittle. I'm going to go play with the Niners.
Exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Exactly what happened.
We
And-
bet on him too, Robbie. We bet on him too.
No doubt.
All right, so 2 of the years that you've been with the Niners, though, have been some of the best seasons of all time for an NFL place kicker. To put that into context, with the 2 field goals you made versus the Cowboys in 2020, you became the 11th kicker in NFL history to reach 400 career field goals, which that's a lot of field goals, Robbie. And among those 400 or more made, you're 86.6% of making that is the highest in NFL history. Is that true?
You know what? I honestly have no idea. So I'm going to go with it. Sure. It sounds great. I'm going to hire you as my PR guy. So just keep it up.
Hey, we're here. We're hyping up Robbie Gould. You rank between 6th and 5th in every kicking category the NFL keeps track of. You're Pro Bowler and a first team All-Pro. Holy cow, ladies and gentlemen. It's Robbie Gould. Oh.
Yeah, well, thanks for that introduction. It brings back some pretty good memories, George. It's pretty wild, like 17 years. It goes really fast. You don't really know when you get into it how long it's going to last for. You just kind of try to enjoy the ride. And it's been amazing to go to a couple teams, to see a couple different owners, and obviously play with a guy like yourself. It's kind of fun to hear your story, your dad's letters to you throwing up in the locker room every game. George and I are like 4 lockers down. He's by far the messiest locker guy in the locker room for sure.
Whoa,
There's
Trent
no doubt
Williams is
about
up
it.
there
Mom just
too.
heard that.
Trent Williams is
Mom
up
just
there
heard
too.
that.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty
I'm a
good.
hoarder.
So yeah, you're a very vertical kind of guy though. You don't ever go left and right. It always goes into the middle of the locker room, which is very respectful. There's no doubt about it.
I try. I'm aware of my messy locker. I'm just a hoarder, dude. I have so much stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm going to wear this again. And it's the same pair of sweatpants I've had since like my rookie season. I'm like, I just got to move on. It's really hard for me to move on.
Yeah, you're never going to really move on. You're just going to put it in boxes and it's basically going to go in storage. And you'll look back. I have Reebok gear. That's how old I am. That's when
Ooh.
Dude,
I have the
Rob,
old-
you got to bring some of that out, dude.
I might even have a pair of the Zumba pants from back in the day. That's probably right at the end of that era. So
That's
A little
amazing.
retrofit. We're here for it.
Yeah, wear that on the plane to Chicago, Robbie.
I don't
Yeah,
have 'em
Reebok's
here.
always a good look. So kind of painful though. All right, well let's take a little trip down memory lane, shall we? Kicker Gold.
Let's do it.
Okay, attended Central Mountain High School, the Fighting Wildcats.
Yeah, cats.
You've been hearing that same sound for like
Forever. Is that why you went to Penn State?
just for the kitty cat?
I didn't really think about that much. I literally went to Penn State because I grew up 30 minutes from Penn State. So I'm the oldest
Acceptable.
of 3. My brother is 3 years younger than me. My sister's 5 years younger than me. I really didn't have any D1 offers coming out of high school. Could have played Division II football and soccer, but I decided that basically what I wanted to do was go give football a shot and walk on at Penn State. And if I never played, which really wasn't in the cards, I was obviously going to try to work as hard as I can to steal the job. But if I didn't play, at least I was going to get a really good degree. And the nice part was I got to see my brother and my sister grow up in high school and watch after my freshman year, I didn't have a car because freshmen couldn't have cars on campus. So after my freshman year, basically I could go back and forth and watch them play after practice, which was awesome because I didn't really miss many of their sporting events. It was pretty cool.
Aw.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got you down here at high school. You lettered in football, soccer, basketball, and track. Complete athletic stud. So that's pretty cool. Notably,
Prodigy, a total prodigy.
your dad.
Wow, some would say.
Which, since you are Robert Gould III, I'm guessing he is Robert Gould II. Just going with that. So your dad, Robert, 3-time All-American soccer player, led Lock Haven University to the D2 National Championship in 1980, and then drafted by the St. Louis Steamers in the early 1980s to play professional soccer. So a lot of athleticism. I couldn't find anything on your mom. I think, is her name Cheryl or my?
Yeah. So my mom, she was a school teacher. I had her as a 6th grade school teacher. So it's kind of the irony of my parents is, my parents my dad was very athletic, and my mom, who was the educator, you couldn't leave the house until you finished your homework, or you couldn't go to sports until you were done. And grades were always at the forefront of our house. So if you weren't doing what you're supposed to do in school or the classroom, you didn't get a chance to play sports. So I think growing up with a brother who was younger than me, ironically pushed me to be better in athletics because we were always competing against one another. But yeah, so my mom, she was the rock of the family, and she pushed the academics pretty hard. My dad helped us with the athletics.
Well, that's a pretty cool story. So it's great to have that. So obviously he came by soccer very naturally and played all that. Yeah, I coached Georgie in soccer, him growing up, and Emma, and it wasn't very natural because that wasn't a thing back in my day, like.
Bruce was like, hit him.
Well,
hit him.
I watched a few videos and did the best I could. Took me a while to figure out offsides though, but anyway, it's all good. All right. Let's see. 2 younger siblings, which you've already mentioned. Who's of the 3 of you, who's the toughest?
I would say my brother's probably the toughest. He was like 220 pounds. He's a lot thicker than I was. I was like 150 pounds soaking wet. He couldn't catch me though. I was definitely the fastest of the group. And then my sister, she had all the brains. She's an optometrist now. So she's a doctor. So I kind of fall in between for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Do you credit her for being able to see like right down the middle of the goalpost?
You know what? My eyesight's getting worse, and I'm going to have to go get glasses soon. I don't know if it's the age thing or just the upright's getting a little bit blurrier than normal when I first started. So, but yeah, I mean, I'll get her to give me a pair of readers, and we'll eventually in a couple of years probably need to get glasses. So hold now.
Dude, Robbie, get the rec specs, man. Give the people what they want. Get the rec specs. Yes.
I'll get Rodrigo Blankenship wears them. So they're growing on me for sure.
My best friend from high school, first time I ever played with him, he was like 4 feet tall. He was a little guy you put out at corner.
Are we talking about Topping?
Yeah, Topping. And he had a dark visor. He had a dark visor. This is like 5th, 6th grade. He had a dark visor with rec specs underneath. Absolutely
nice.
George,
so hot. Respect. Yeah. Respect the specs, baby.
Yeah. Well, all right. Last question about the fame then. Growing up, because it sounds like mom was really about discipline and hard work and all that kind of stuff. So great family environment, all that kind of thing. What's kind of the hardest or like most memorable lesson that you took away from your family that's kind of helped shape you to be the person you are today?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to where I grew up was a low to middle income area. My parents were very blue collar. My mom was a school teacher. My dad is a postal worker. So we knew that everything that we were going to get in life, we had to work for, right? There was nothing that was going to be given to us. Not just because of my size at 150. It wasn't like I was ripped up or anything like that, but I just knew that if I could outwork people and mentally, if I knew that I could outlast them, then I'd have a lot of success, whether it be in sports or academics. So unfortunately, I had to put in a lot of work for academics that they didn't come easy for myself, whereas like my sister was awesome at it. My brother had like a photographic memory. So I think the biggest lesson I ever learned was that respect people and work as hard as you can, and good things will happen to you.
All right. Pretty good stuff. Cool. All right. Well, let's see. You talked about Penn State and walking on. It was all close. I think you got a business management degree, if I'm right. Something
I do. Yep.
In business. Okay. So, and I've read a few things about you wanting to do some things, but tell us a little bit about, well, here's the one I just want to make sure of. I went back and looked at all the records. I checked the scores because at that point, Penn State was in the Big Ten. Now, you know, we have a little bit of a Hawkeye bias. George and I both having had experience there. So in the 4 years that you were at Penn State, the best I could see from those records, Penn State never defeated Iowa one time, even though you won the Big Ten once in those 4 years.
Yeah, we lost to Iowa in overtime one season. We lost on a very bad PI call.
Okay.
But I won't hold that to the referees being Iowa biased either at all. And then we lost a barn burner 6-4. I actually missed a couple short field goals that game, and we ended up losing 6-4 at home at Penn State.
You were there for that? That was a rain game, right? It was terrible.
Yeah, we had 2 safeties. That was it. And then I think you guys scored 2 field goals. Yeah, it was a real ugly game to watch. But I'll tell you what, going to Iowa, now, George, I'm obviously a lot older than you. I went there 2001 to 2004.
I had
Children's
tickets,
hospital.
Yeah, we had tickets.
You were watching me when you were 5 years old, cheering on Iowa. Huh?
I was watching. I was 11.
Hey, we were 10. We were
electric. 10. But the Children's Hospital wave didn't exist when I went to Penn State, and I really wish I think that's one of the coolest, most impactful parts of college football. So for me, you know, it was always a rivalry, and going into Iowa, the worst part about playing in Iowa was the grandstands of people were literally on top of you. So they told you going into the game that don't lay your helmet on the sideline, or it's going to be basically go up the stadium and thrown out the top of the stadium chairs. So we kept our helmets on the whole time, and obviously I never beat Iowa. So go Hawkeyes, I guess, right?
Oh,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I played, so I got done in 81, and then I was on the staff for 4 years, and we went up there, and it was, I think it was 82 or 83. It was like within the 2 years. And it was like a 47, 45, just track race. And that was the first time Iowa, for a long time, about 12 years earlier, they'd won up there, but that was the first time we'd won in Happy Valley. And it was wild. I mean, it was so much fun. It was a great game. Super fun and all that kind of stuff. Obviously we won, but it was very memorable and all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty cool, but it's a neat trip because you have to fly in somewhere and you bus and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot like when people come to Iowa City, because you got the 30-minute bus ride and, you know, the small town and all that stuff.
So my first ever away game in college was to Iowa. So I had never been on an airplane before. My family always went by car. So I'm so pumped. I'm excited. I'm getting on Planet Airway, Hollywood or something crazy. It was like not even like a United or American Airlines. It was literally like a Miami-based aviation company. And I got my camcorder out. Yes, camcorder, George. I am old. There was no cell phones to do the videos.
I love it.
And I'm getting ready. We're getting ready to come out of the crowd and out of the clouds. And I'm literally videotaping this whole thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait. It's gonna be great. I get to see a big city. I come down, it's just cornfields everywhere. I was so like disappointed. We stayed at the Clarion Inn or something like that. And
Corville.
At night, I remember laying down. I'm sleeping with like ladybugs. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen. But it's definitely one of those memorable trips. The pink locker room. I don't know if they still do that or not. But
yes, they do.
Yeah, it was a pretty memorable place. That's for sure.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, any other big memories about Penn State you want to share? I mean, I don't want to cut you off with that. It's pretty cool. It's a great rivalry and great tradition and all that kind of stuff.
It's fun. I think the playing in the Big Ten is one of the most unique conferences to play in. It's a very like ground and pound type of football conference, right? So when I played, it wasn't you run the aeration football like they do now, right? So I think every game, whether it was Ohio State or going into the big house at Michigan, here I am, a young kid from middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and I'm getting to play in some of these places you would see on TV. It was kind of like a dream come true. So I think just being able to play in a conference that I grew up watching and playing with, Jopo is my head coach. I mean, the guy's a legend. So to be able to play for him and watch him, how he molded like kids into men as they went through the program, for me was really unique. Still to this day, I keep time like Joe Paterno would for his meetings. If you weren't 5 minutes early, you were late. So everywhere we go in meetings, I'm always sitting there 5 to 10 minutes early just to make sure I'm not behind. So
That you are.
Penn State was great. Penn State was an awesome time for me. I really enjoyed it.
Well, to kind of like add on to what you were saying, and like so I played volleyball at Oklahoma. Well, I played at Iowa my freshman year and then transferred to Oklahoma, and we went to the Sweet 16 my sophomore year at OU, and we played Penn State, and Penn State in volleyball is like the goddesses of the, when I was playing, like the goddesses of the goddesses. And so we roll in, I somehow block one of, her name's Blair something. Now I can't remember it. I swear to God, she broke my like entire hand. I thought I was just done for. I thought I was just like never going to play volleyball again. But either way, like rolling up, and there's just so much history and energy there. And so Penn State is it's a special place.
Well, what's crazy about Rec Hall is that place would be packed with 10. That was the old basketball arena. So it'd be 6,000 to 10,000 fans watching a women's volleyball game Friday night. And it's right on top of you. It was one of the best sporting events actually to go to when I was at Penn State. And they had a run for about 10 years that was second to none. I mean, they were unstoppable, undefeated a lot. I mean, it was wild what they did. And yeah, they were in the weight room a lot. So they were definitely hitting the ball pretty hard, I'm sure.
They were also like all 6'5".
Yeah, they're tall ladies. So yeah,
ladies.
Now now it's the wrestling thing is all big now too, because Iowa kind of took it back, but Penn State had such a great run there for such a long time with Cal Sanders and all that. It's been pretty amazing run. So really good. Well, let's talk about the NFL then, because you are an NFL player. So Emmy, you want to run with the transition?
Yes. So as we transition to the NFL, right? Combine, didn't get the invite. What was kind of didn't get the invite and then went undrafted. So we always like to kind of talk about the mindset through that. What was kind of your preparation in making the transition from college to NFL on your own?
Yeah, we weren't very good at Penn State my senior year. I remember going into our last game of the season, I think we were like, 4 of 8 on field goals. So I didn't have a lot of attempts. I went 3 for 3 in the last game. And I remember going outside the stadium at the end. I'm like, Dad, I don't know if the NFL is really for me. He's like, well, listen, at the end of the day, give it a shot. If it doesn't work, you have your degree, right? So it's a dream come true if you play. If you play for one game, you got to do it. Something that a lot of people, if you think about it, I mean, there's 1,200 kids who played in the NFL on any given time. And then you're talking about duplicated of players like George or myself, who's on the same teams in that 1,200, right? So it's a really limited group of people. So I was like, sure. So I knew I probably wouldn't get drafted, which was fine by me because I was undrafted, or I was a non-scholarship walk-on guy to Penn State. So I obviously knew what that was going to be. So I chose to go to New England after my workouts because they were coming off their Super Bowl run. And I figured if anybody was looking to take people off their roster, it would be from New England. Now, I also chose to go there because Adam Vinatieri was arguably the best kicker of all time. I needed to learn. I needed to learn how to be a professional. I needed to learn the game a little bit more. I needed to learn what it was going to take to be in the NFL. So my agent and I talked, and we decided New England would be a great fit. And, if I didn't go to New England, I don't think that I would have the career I would have had. I went from a 3-step kicker to a 2-step kicker, thanks to Brad Seeley. I competed every day against one of the greatest of all time. I got to see what a championship culture was like. I mean, it was really incredible. I have the most respect for Bill Belichick because they made you learn situations. They made you learn what it was going to take for the grind of an NFL season. And then that back in the day, we had 2 really true practices. It wasn't like one was a walkthrough. So I had to kick twice a day for 30 straight days, and there was no off day. So I got a lot of opportunities. I got a lot of chance to go out there and learn the game. I got cut, obviously, supposed to go back there on the practice squad because Adam's deal was up at the end of the year. Before that happened, Baltimore, once I got cut, Baltimore asked me to come down and be on the practice squad. I was supposed to be their kickoff specialist. We had a couple guys get hurt, so I was there for like 3 weeks. I got a condo, the whole 9 yards, settling into Baltimore. So it tells you the volatility of the NFL. And then I got cut from Baltimore and started working construction because I needed to have some money in my pocket and be able to work. My dad's like, all right, you're off the payroll. You got to go be an adult now. So
okay, wait. So I feel like we need to go deep into that story. Before we go there, though, I don't want to skip over. So pretty much you, as being undrafted, you picked out the creme de la creme, and instead of going away from him, your concept was to go to him and learn.
Yeah.
From him.
So I could have went to Pittsburgh, Detroit, or New England. And I love Jason Hansen as a kicker. New England was like my favorite team of all time. So like I knew all of the players. It was kind of weird. Like when I walked in the locker room for the first time, AJ was basically like, listen, hey, whatever you do, just act like you've been there before. So here I am sitting in a locker room with Corey Dillon, Tom Brady, Mike Vrabel. I mean, all of these guys. And I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God. Oh, Robbie, get it together, collect yourself a little bit. But my locker was in the middle of the locker room. And I'll never forget this because I enjoy watching our rookies in San Francisco now, having the middle lockers. Because when I had the middle locker, I was able to watch everybody in the locker room. So I watched how guys prepared for practice. I watched how they carried themselves between meetings. I got to see what they were doing in the weight room. And I was just trying to be a sponge. Like I was trying to pick up everything and anything I could. So, I think like, and still to this day, like when teams go to look to pick up players, I think they go to what the deepest rosters are, because I think they know if those teams are picking guys that they're winning, obviously they know the pedigree of player they need. So I chose to go and learn from Adam because I knew the opportunities I had. I wasn't taking Jeff Reed's job. I wasn't taking Jason Hansen's job. So I knew out of those places, and Stan Kwan, who was our coach for a while here, was the first guy to ever work me out. So it was really hard to tell him I wasn't going to come there over New England. So, I mean, I had Josh Miller, Lonnie Paxton, Dan Coe. I mean, these guys, Rohan Davey. I mean, the list goes on and on of like how great of a locker room it was. So for me, it was the perfect place to set my career up for what I think the success I've had, because I got to see that first. If I didn't see that first, it probably would have taken me a little bit of time to find out who I was as a player, but also what it meant to be in the NFL at a championship caliber level.
That's pretty cool. It's a rare
awesome.
opportunity. Yeah. Just the championship kind of culture and the way they drafted people and the way they put things together and how Belichick ran the whole thing. So that's pretty cool. Neat decisions. So, okay.
All right. So now let's circle back to the construction story. So worked construction, heard about some prank calls. Tell us all the things.
Yeah. So when I was in college in the summer, I'd come home and work construction for a family friend of ours. And I knew that I couldn't go get a real job because I couldn't tell the job, hey, there's a chance tomorrow I might leave. So at the construction job, they're always looking for people to work. So I called our family friends like, hey, I don't know how long I'll be around, but I want to work. So I got up in the mornings at like 5:30, 6 o'clock, went and was a stagehand out in the field working construction for a week. Then moved me into doing some inside office sales stuff for them because with my degree, just so I got a little bit of an internship out of it. And I still, to this day, I have no idea why they called M&R contracting. I have no idea how they found the number. But literally there was a girl who called and she's like, hey, I'm Robin with the Chicago Bears. I'm like, yeah, okay, funny. Hang up on her thinking it's my friend's like prank calling me, being like, "Oh yeah, how's it feel to be at a 9 to 5, bud?" Like, yeah, Yeah, that whole NFL gig was a lot of fun, wasn't it? So then she literally called me back, and I hung up on her again. And my agent called. She's like, "Hey, like the Chicago Bears are trying to get you on a flight to come out." So I called him back, and I was like, "I'm really sorry." I hung up on you 3 times. I thought it was my friends pranking me, but I can be on the first flight out. You tell me, I can be there in no time. So I got a flight. I think it was like a 3:00 call. I was on a flight by 7:00 out of State College. And I told our family friend, "Hey, I hope to God I'm not coming back to work for you, because that means I'm playing in the NFL." I go out, compete against 5 other guys. I was a 6th guy. And they're like, "Hey, you're going to be kicking on Sunday." My first game ever was in Cleveland. And when you're a rookie, you know not to say anything. So here I am in these floppy sleeves. I hated floppy sleeves because I wanted my arms, everything to be tight on my body so I could move my arms and swing. But I couldn't say anything. So I played my entire rookie year with these floppy sleeves, like a quarterback sleeve. Yeah. So I made my first field goal at 44. I missed my second field goal at 48. But I celebrated the 44-yarder like it was a game winner to win a Super Bowl, because to me, like, I made it, right? Like, here I am living a dream. So started out 3 for 6 in Chicago. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like, Robbie, you got to pick it up a little bit." And we finished the season 16-17, and then really found my rhythm. And I had 2 really good guys in Chicago, Brad Maynard and Pat Manley, who both played 15 and 17 years in the NFL, teach me what it was like to be a pro and how I needed to be successful in Chicago. So I was lucky that I landed there with 2 really old vets at the time. And now I say old vets, and I'm that guy. You know what I mean? So
Crazy.
Yeah. So I worked construction, and now here I am 17 years later, and not working construction anymore.
Yeah, Robbie, just, you've said that a couple of times about being in New England and then with these guys in Chicago. When you talk about what it means to be a pro, I mean, I think I kind of, get it, just being around George and his transition, but like, what are some core things, that are shared that, kind of help level things off, like lessons learned that, give you longevity in the league and being more successful? What are those lessons?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to be passionate about what you're doing, right? If you don't love what you're doing, and you don't enjoy coming to work every day, and it doesn't consume you as a person, like, if you don't want to learn your skill or perfect your skill or your trade, guys like that get weeded out pretty quickly. You're going to go through adversity. You're going to go through injuries. We had guys in our locker room, like Brian Urlacher. I've been played with Julius Peppers, Olin Kreutz, like some Hall of Fame type and Hall of Famers that literally everything they did when they came in, they were early. They got treatment done early. They stayed later. Back in the day, we didn't have iPads, so you couldn't watch film at any given time. You had to actually stay in a facility and watch film. So I think just understanding how to take care of your body with body regen, learning the game plan, knowing your responsibility, and being accountable for doing your job and understanding your role. And then also being a great teammate. There's a lot of things in an NFL season that people go through, and you got to be there for them, right? You got to learn how to pick up the slack for them when they're down, or pick them up when they're not playing as great. Because every athlete goes through, even in a season where maybe you have a game or two that you dropped a couple passes, you missed a couple kicks, you're not tackling as well as you should have. Maybe you're not blitzing the way you're supposed to, or you forget it because of a certain look. But at the end of the day, like, we're all family, we're all brothers. Like, I spend more time with the guys in the locker room than I do like my true family. Like, I probably know more about George's tendencies than my kids' tendencies at home at times, right? And that says a lot, right? So I don't know, you just gotta love what you do and do it to the best of your abilities.
Cool. That's good. Maybe we'll circle back to George's tendencies.
We have a whole section.
All right, cool. George,
Nope.
You got
Hola.
the script here?
I do.
Yeah, why don't you run through us the 2-5 to 215, the Bears.
The Bears.
Ooh, the Bears.
The
Bears. Bears.
All right, Robbie. So you end up in Chicago because they had an injury to their then kicker. And then, like you said, you started off a little slow, came in hot in your rookie season, found your groove, and you ended up going to multiple Pro Bowls, Special Teams Player of the Year awards. That's not bad. You hold records for, there's a couple here, so you got to give me a sec. 7 straight years of scoring 100 points or more, the longest tenured player for the Bears, the team's all-time leader in career points, 1,207, field goals made, 276, and career field goals of at least 50 yards, 23. All right, that's not bad. Oh, wow, MJ, that's not bad. Look at you in Chicago, 23. Look at you. Let's plan
my favorite athlete of all time, too, so that's perfect. That's only fitting.
That is fitting. Now, cool. Question for you. What do you have a favorite kick as a Chicago Bear?
Yeah.
Would it be your first one?
No, you know what? I enjoyed that one, but that wasn't the one that really like took my career to a whole nother level. I remember in 2005, I came into a team that was 1-3 and we won 9 straight. And we finished the season like 12-4, made the playoffs. We lost to Carolina. It was a Steve Smith game where he caught the ball down the sideline, hugged the field goal post, and basically like the fire pole in the bottom. And we ended up losing. We got the bye. And I remember like it feeling really bad, right? And I was like, geez, I don't want to have this happen again. So we worked really hard. All of us. Off season started in March. We got to the playoffs again. We're playing Seattle. We have the bye week. So we're playing a really hot Seattle team with Sean Alexander and Matt Hasselbeck and Bobby Ingram, all those guys. We make a 41-yarder to tie it right towards the end of the game. We go to overtime. We hit a 49-yard field goal to win it. And we hadn't, as Chicago, I think we haven't won a playoff game in like, I don't know, 9-10 years. But I remember hitting the kick and being like, oh my God, that's so good. Like that's in, like as soon as it left my foot. And then from there on out, like I always had the confidence that any kick I make isn't going to be any harder than that one. Right. And then I get to the Super Bowl and I'm like, oh my God, I got to actually make kicks in the Super Bowl. Like this is crazy. But I think that's the kick that kind of put me on the map. That was a kick that for my career kind of jump started my career. But also was the first time I got to be able to play in a Super Bowl. So we got New Orleans the next week, and then we played the Indianapolis Colts in the Super Bowl. But for me, I'd say that that's probably my favorite memory as a Chicago Bear for sure.
That's a big one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Huh. So what's your favorite kick as a Niner?
Oh, man.
Would it be the Bears?
It's hard for me to say it this week, but it was definitely – I have 2 of them. The game against the Bears, we went 15-14, and we had more field goal yards than they did offensive yards. I celebrated that field goal like it was a 22-yard field goal. It's so out of character for me to celebrate. I always come from the school, I thought I'd like act like you've been there before. There was just a lot of emotions after being cut from the Bears, and we were just starting to get on a run. Jimmy G's first start in San Francisco as a 49er. We went on to eventually win 5 or 6 straight towards the end, right? So I would say the Chicago one was really good, and the Tennessee Titans game was a lot of fun too a couple of weeks later. We had battled pretty hard in that game. I think we kicked a 48-yarder. We kicked a 45-yarder to win it. And I just remember the feeling of the guys – because we had gone 0-9 pretty much and lost a lot of close games. And that was like the first time where we started feeling like we could compete with anybody and win. And so those are probably my 2 favorite kicks in my career since I've been here as a 49er.
Yeah, because Titans were a playoff team. Like we beat a couple playoff teams that year. And it sucked too is we were 1 game out of the playoffs. Like we would have won 1 more game and we finished the way we did, we would have been the wild card in the playoffs and we could have done something.
Yeah. We beat a Jacksonville team and we beat a Tennessee team, I believe, that were in the playoffs that year. And we were trying to knock them out. I knew that was like our motivation when we played. But I think like what was cool about it is we were kind of a young team. You know what I mean? Like we had been playing with a lot of young players, especially at quarterback. One of your teammates, CJ Beathard. And I just remember watching those guys being like, hey, listen, we have a chance to be really good in a couple years. But you could just tell that the young guys just needed a few years in the NFL to kind of understand what it was like. And I think that's what helped us in 2019. We had the perfect mixture of veterans and young players. Listen, like yourself, Fred Warner, guys that came on as draft picks to eventually be Pro Bowl players, all pro players, and that's what you want out of your draft class. So that was a really fun run for us. It gave us a lot of confidence going into the next couple seasons.
So Robbie, as a seasoned player, as a wise player,
I appreciate that. Season. That's very nice of you.
Season
17, baby. Yeah, 17 different seasons. So what's your favorite stadium to play in?
Green Bay Packers. And I know all the Bears fans will go absolutely wild hearing me say that, but I'm a big fan of the history of the NFL. There's nothing like walking down the skinny tunnel in Green Bay. I'd done it for 11 straight years. So we'd had a lot of battles. In the beginning, the Bears had won a lot of them. And then, as you guys have heard recently, Aaron Rodgers still owns them. I guess he's a shareholder now for the Bears. But it's, just the mystique of a Bears Packers game. But just, I don't know. You always want that game to be cold and snowing. That's just what the NFL was all about back in the day, and it's pretty neat to be able to share some part of that history.
Yeah.
Well, then speaking of your history, so on
pretty much our first 3 pages of script are just your stats.
Yeah. So,
thanks for that.
Robbie Gould as a child.
I'm an old guy.
Robbie Gould in college. Robbie Gould transitioning. Robbie Gould in there.
In 2016, after that season, you were awarded the Ed Block Courage Award. I'm not sure what that is. But then 1 week before the first game, you're released by the Bears on September 4th, 2016.
Yeah.
So we've been chatting a little bit about mindset. We're going to talk a little bit more. So I don't know what the Ed Block Courage Award is, but you must have done some cool stuff and they loved you as a teammate. And then whatever happened, I don't know, but they end up letting you go, even though you're the guy.
Yeah. So the Ed Block Courage Award's a really unique award in the NFL. It's for somebody who's overcome some adverse situation in some capacity, shows leadership and a passion for football. So each team gets to vote on a representative to represent their team at a function and raise money for the foundation. But so I ruptured my hamstring the previous season in 14 and came back in 15, had a really, really nice season. And I just remember the gratitude of my teammates. You always say when you're elected captain or you win an award from your teammates, it's the biggest, in my opinion, award you can get because you're the respect of the guys in the locker room. That was amazing. And then, I was at my sister-in-law's house Labor Day weekend. I just gone through training camp. We had a long snapper battle. I was trying to get settled in with what was going on there and getting excited to start the season. I got a call at 8:00 at night on Sunday. Nobody was in the building except for John Fox, Ryan Pace, and then obviously the trainer, because they have to check you off and go through the physical. So, I just remember packing up my stuff at 10:00 at night and texting my wife hey, I just got cut from the Chicago Bears. And she's born and raised in Chicago. Honestly, it's nice because our house was there, our roots were there. But I just remember talking to her being it hurt. There's no doubt about it. I cried about it. This is a place I had only known for 11 years. Here I am, the all-time leading scorer, have the highest field goal percentage, et cetera, in the history of the game. And John and Fox and Jeff Rodgers, and they wanted to go in a different direction to save some money. And I realized then it was okay, this is the business of football, right? So I told myself I wasn't going to just rush back into something. I wanted to make sure that if I wanted to go somewhere where I could win a Super Bowl, because really that's the only thing left on my, I'll say, resume right now, is I've played in 2 and lost both. But so I went to the Giants, and the Mara family was unbelievable. What a place. Loved it. Played with a guy like Eli Manning, Odell Beckham Jr., those guys. So I had a lot of fun in Chicago. Was totally caught off guard by it, but they got to make the decision they did. And do I miss it? Yeah, sure I do. I love the city of Chicago. It's a place where I still live. My kids are growing up there. But I think everything happens for a reason, right? So had I not gotten cut, and maybe I wouldn't have made the playoffs that year. Instead, we go to the playoffs with the New York Giants, losing the first round to Green Bay. And then 2 years after that, I'm in a Super Bowl again, playing in the same place I played my first Super Bowl in Miami. So I try to look at the positives of everything. And, you know, I got an opportunity to play for the York family in San Francisco that I thought would be good for me. It'd be a great situation. I played a Pro Bowl with John Lynch. So now he's my boss. Like, he's the general manager. So it's kind of wild. Comes full circle. But yeah, I think, you know, I'm thankful for everything that happened in Chicago. It's where I grew up. I have a lot of friendships and teammates there that stick with me till this day. And, you know, I'm very grateful for those opportunities. But yeah, would I've loved to finish my career there? Sure. You know, I always said, once a bear, always a bear. I feel that way. Like, I think that no matter where you play, that should be the mantra at any place. But it just didn't work out that way. It didn't work. And some things don't work out the way you want them to. I mean, that's just the reality, right? So all of these situations, I don't look at them as like a failure. I just think that they've shaped me to be able to talk to my kids about what it's like to handle those adverse situations.
Well, and we're pretty, I mean, sorry you went through the hard times, but pretty happy that you ended up with the Niners. So
It's been a good
we're
thing.
not
Yeah,
celebrating your
fun. It's been a
adversity,
good
but like
run.
low key we are.
Well, but I just want to say though, Robbie, I just appreciate your point. So we're kind of big on the mindfulness and paying attention to those things. So, but really, you know, all of life, you know, even in the moment when it doesn't seem like what you wanted, there are opportunities within it, you know, and it's kind of our task is to sort through that, even what feels like wreckage at time, and kind of find out what that opportunity is, whether it's a lesson, whether it's a growth opportunity, whether it's, you know, whatever that is, to help us kind of move ourselves in whatever kind of direction. And before we got on air or recording, we kind of talked about, you know, the kind of Buddhist tradition of it's not permanent. Nothing's permanent. Everything is
For sure.
And nothing's perfect and it's not personal. So, you know, in the NFL, if there's nothing else about it, it reminds you of that, because you're sitting there one day and your best friend's in the locker next to you, and then 2 days later they're gone.
Well, I wouldn't quite say the NFL is very Buddhist. The lessons that the players have to internalize are incredibly Buddhist.
Yes.
So
yeah,
there we go. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, or go ahead.
Here's what I'll tell you. I think in those situations, like, you're always looking for, now as an adult and as a parent of 3 boys, I'm looking for what it is that I can instill in them. And I'll always remember that my son, who had played baseball, he's 8 years old, and they were going to pick an all-star team. And I knew he wasn't going to get picked because I was his coach. We already kind of knew who was going to get picked. And I knew Griffin would be absolutely crushed, because our big thing in our house is, hey, if you show up, you respect your teammates, and you do everything right, good things will happen to you. So he expected to make the All-Star game based on that. So here I am on the middle of a baseball field talking to him about Griffin, like, do you know what the All-Star game is? Do you know why you didn't make it? Like, and we had a long conversation. And the coolest thing about it is we're on the way home is like, hey, like, you know, Dad didn't make the Pro Bowl, or Dad didn't win the Super Bowl, or Dad didn't make his kicks. What do you think he did? Or, you know, your mom didn't get this, or, and he was like, yeah, I should go home and practice. So he went home and practiced for an hour. So like, those moments for me are easy to help, you know, shed light on that to my sons, which is pretty cool. Now, they are my biggest critics. I'll never forget Arizona. we're like, why, and I love them to death, because kids, you guys, you know, there's no filter, right? So we played Arizona. I missed 3 field goals in the second half, and I FaceTimed my kids on the walk back to the hotel, because we were staying in Arizona, obviously, because of COVID. We got kicked out of Santa Clara, and my wife texted me, hey, just so you know, your middle son is going to obviously be a little tough on you. So I FaceTime him. He picks up the phone and he's like, Dad, what happened?
What the?
I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean, bud? Like, trying to play it off. He goes, you missed all your kicks in the second half. You almost lost the game for us. Like, you never miss. What happened? I'm like, buddy, sometimes it's just not your night. And like, I'll never forget, like, oh my gosh, like, I let my son down, let alone my teammates, you know? So
that's rough.
Yeah, so it's a friendly reminder, better not miss, because those guys are harder on me than I am myself, probably.
Okay, well, let's jump in.
Well, speaking of children,
let's
jump into when you first met young George.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of children, that's a great segue. George he still is a big kid, I feel like.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Every year I usually pay attention to the draft picks, and it's always unique to have guys who get drafted from the Big Ten, because you always share some sort of camaraderie regardless of the age gap, because your teams will probably play each other throughout the season. And I just remember watching as a kicker. The cool thing for me is I practice for 20 minutes and I get to watch the rest of practice. So I'm always like a general manager. I'm always like, oh, that guy's got this skill set, this guy's got that, and like trying to piece it all together. And something I always remember about George was his work ethic. Every time he caught the ball, now granted, some of this is probably ingrained in you from college just because of Iowa, but also Embo probably too. But it was always the drop step and get north and south, and you kind of epitomize that. But I always knew that the game too, and your position as tight ends and tackles and guards and centers and D linemen and linebackers always took a physical toll on you. And I always respected George for playing through injury and giving it his all and leaving everything on the field. So when small things pop up for me, obviously I just remember and lean on teammates like George to get me through those moments for sure.
Okay, so 2017 though, you just signed, and so then when would you have shown up? And then you got there before the draft or after?
Yeah, he was there. He was there a month before I was.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was one of John and Kyle's first, I'll call it free agent signings, and I knew going into San Francisco we were rebuilding. I mean, it was very apparent that was going to happen. I knew Kyle from the combine. I knew John. Like I said, I played in the Pro Bowl with him. And I knew both of them pretty well, and I respected them both for kind of what they were, right? So I remember going there, like, all right, listen, like we got to set a whole new culture in this building. Like we got to figure out how to win. We got to figure out the guys, teach them how to be pros and being in your playbooks. And then as they got rid of some of those guys with the off-season training, George can tell you, like we had some pretty tough off-season workouts and weeded guys out. But eventually it got to where like it made us closer as a team too, because we had to rely on each other. So yeah, I knew going into it, it was my 13th season in the NFL. And here I am rebuilding. I wasn't going for a championship or anything like that, but I knew it would be worth it in the end. So 2019, we're in the Super Bowl, which is pretty cool. So I still think you got robbed, George. That was a PI call, by the way.
Oh man, I saw 5 this last weekend that were worse than that. It's just
I know,
unbelievable. But anyway, all right, G-Man, what was your first introduction to the legend Robbie Gould?
My first introduction was that literally right after I got drafted, we're partying, taking tequila shots, and Robbie Gould tweets at me, welcome to the Niners, man. Excited to have another Big Ten player on board. He was the first 49er that reached out to me. Are you talking about
like when we're like right after you get drafted, like at the house?
Yeah, he tweeted me. He tweeted me within like 30 minutes. It was awesome. And I was like, oh my gosh, no way. Because like I said, Robbie, we know this.
Yep,
I grew up a diehard Bears fan. I grew up a diehard
Bears
fan.
And
I was like, no way, Robbie fucking Gould. Excuse my language. But I was so excited about it. And so that was my first interaction with Robbie. And then obviously like, what's cool is Robbie, he says a lot of the same things. Like when you were a rookie, Rob, you say a lot of the same things that I relied on. Like being a sponge and then absorbing all the information, whether it's good or bad, and then deciphering the two. Like you got to pick for yourself, which is what. I relied on that. And luckily, like you were a guy that, I mean, you talk to guys, like rookies had questions, anyone had questions, you would like have full conversation with them. So like I'd just be sitting in the hot tub and Robbie would be talking to like 3 other vets, and I would just sit there and just listen. Didn't say a word. They probably didn't even know I was there. And I was like, huh. Oh, this is really cool. Like, oh my gosh, Robbie Gould's here. So that was a big thing for me. I really enjoyed that. And now me and Robbie, we're 4 lockers apart from each other. Just can't get rid of each other. It's amazing.
So it's funny, George, your rookie year, my locker was on the complete other side of the locker room. And I remember looking around the locker room being like, man, there's a lot of young kids down at the other side of that locker room. I'm like, I need to move my locker so there's a veteran presence down there. So your rookie year, I moved to that corner locker because of how young the group was. And it was the best decision I ever made, because a lot of people go in and out of the training room there. That way, you know, you get to have a lot of conversations with people. And one of the things that I think was fun for me in New England is all those guys were the same way. They took you under their wing. Like you said, they talked to you. Like, I've never had the experience to give to somebody that I didn't receive. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Where like in New England, I had to bake cookies and bring them milk at night for like my rookie hazing. Like, I don't believe that, you go out for rookie dinners and things like that. But so a lot of those things I learned my rookie year, I brought into the San Francisco locker room with me and kind of kept it with me in Chicago as well.
Does this mean you're about to share a cookie recipe with us?
No, but I'll tell you what, I got pretty savvy because I befriended the group at the front desk, because that's where they made them. So I was like, hey, can you guys do me a huge favor? Can you make these 3 plates of cookies? And I need 2% and 1 non-fat milk. And I would always deliver them to their rooms. And we got done and we probably got done at like 9:30 at night. So at the end, I felt so grateful for them helping me out, because I'd have to be back there cooking them and doing all that. That it was nice to be able to have that relationship with the front desk to help me out, ease that burden a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow, it's huge.
I just want to hit though on what you just said though, that I never gave to anybody something I hadn't received, which is a pretty profound concept. You know what I mean? In the sense that sometimes we don't always appreciate, what it means to mentor, or even just kindness or a gesture to help somebody in a moment when they're uncertain and they don't know where they're at or whatever that is. And it really is, it's really true that it's hard to give to someone else something that you've never learned or never been given to yourself. And so, I mean, that's a pretty profound thing, and particularly within the concept of the NFL and a team situation, but probably bigger than that, in life as well. So really appreciate that though. And then, once you receive the gift, in a way, there's a responsibility not just to hold it and to shine it, but then to pass it on. It's like, you've been given this gift, you've got the knowledge and this wisdom. And so one of the obligations when whoever shared it with you gave it to you was, hey, use this, but once you've got it figured out, make sure that you pass it along. And so that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. It stuck with me a lot too when I was a kid, because I was a part of the Rotary Club. I was always in my community giving back. And I think that's kind of just always been a part of me, and it still is till this day. Right. So I think everyone can learn from each other. And obviously everyone has a different upbringing. Everyone has a different lesson that they learn. So try to learn as many of those as you can. And, in our household, we have 2 rules. One is respect. My son just got his report card today. So here I am in the training room getting therapy, and I'm reading his report card, and, math, whatever the grade was, English, sight words, this, that, and the other. But one of the cool parts of their school, is in kindergarten, is respects others and is kind to everyone in the classroom. And when they get a high grade like that in that field, that to me makes me happy, because that means I'm doing my job right. So if they give me everything they have and they respect others, then, obviously they'll do a lot of great things, but always something to learn for sure.
George's mom was over there crying right now.
She's like, that was my job.
She's like this. That's
I
just
wanna-
like George.
I
when
want
he
to share
was
something.
little.
I want to share something because there's this concept when you start to get into teaching yoga. And so it's called the golden chain, which may be the golden chain in this perspective.
Ooh,
I know.
Good one. I like
I
it.
was writing on golden chain, and I actually spelled it with a U, and I was like, ooh, okay.
Okay.
But so the golden chain is that when you're tapping in to teach, it's coming in with this clear, like clairvoyant energy that like you're tapping into the wisdom of the teachers for you, wisdom of the people that will come after you, and then the wisdom that is just straight up within you. And so it's really interesting, because the more that we have these conversations and the deeper we go into these podcasts, I always see so much overlapping between yoga and football. But I mean, even just everything you said, it just reminded me so much of like the golden chain of like tapping into that and like kind of just like finding your knowing and your place. And like, you know, this wisdom is, while it might be with me right now, it's not mine.
Right.
It's just this gift that gets
so true
through us and that we get to share with everybody.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it better.
Okay.
The golden chain.
We'll have to add it. Okay. So, Robbie, so we have a little program we call MAP for Mindful Awareness and Performance. So it's a meditation and mindfulness-based approach to mental prep, particularly for athletes. So I'm just wondering, you've kind of talked about some stuff, but like when I think about kickers, I mean, you talk about a mental game, right? I mean, all the pressure, last second, like you talked about that big kick with the overtime win, getting through the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we work a lot on affirmations, visualization, meditation, mindfulness, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just kind of wondering, you know, do you have a toolbox of, you know, what kind of things do you do? I know you practice your technique, you and the snapper, holder, all that kind of stuff, but like mentally, like what are the bag of tricks, or at least one or two of them that you rely on? So when there's 2 seconds left in the game and it's rainy and windy.
Well, yeah. And because there's like so many different variables that go into
so much stuff you can't control.
So it's like, it's the weather, it's the wind, it's who's holding it.
But how do you keep your head right?
It's the play count, like it's the score, like all these different things.
What do you do to kind of keep things on track and stay focused?
Well, you always look at the weather report on Monday and kind of track it so that if, you know, like if it's going to be rainy on Sunday, like it was this past weekend, like I want to know that, because there's things we can do as a unit that, one, I'm going to probably be not as far back in my 2 steps. I'm also going to take a little bit more time, because usually if it's wet, the game slows down. So why do I need to rush? Right. I think the other part of, you talked about affirmation, right? I think there's a way that when you practice and you watch film and you know what the returners are doing, or you know what they do in situational football, you bring yourself to this, I know what I need to do, and I know I can do it in a positive manner. And I feel really confident about my job. And then there's the third part of visualization. Like every kick that you go to do in pregame, you're trying to figure out how to play the wind or what's going on. And then before you go to kick, obviously you visualize where the ball is going to go in the target of the upright, and how the wind's going to take it. So I use all 3 of those. And then we were just at a Brad Paisley concert a few weeks ago, and one of the band members, we were talking to him about like, hey, like how do you turn yourself into that person, or what do you do to be confident when you do it? He says, well, listen, no one else out there can play the fiddle, or no one else can play the guitar. So I turn myself into him. And that's really what I do on game days. I just try to have fun and turn myself into that guy who is happy-go-lucky. I can't play uptight at all. I tried to do that a little bit my rookie year. It didn't work for me. But you have to find these little nuances that give you the confidence to go out there and play at a high level.
It almost sounds like an alter ego.
Alter ego. That's what I was going to say.
Do you have a name for it?
I don't, but I'll let George name it if he wants.
Ooh, we might have to do some work on that. All right.
I'll do some work on that.
Can we call it the golden chain?
There we
Sure,
go.
we can call it whatever you want.
We got to get it. We'll have to find an image for it, and so you can tap into that. Oh,
He's
cool.
like a James Bond bad guy. That's what it is.
All right.
Yeah.
Gold chain.
Okay. You better fashion this. Well, that's pretty cool. So thank you, because I know there's a lot that goes into that. And I guess just during the week, then, do you do like kind of meditative visualization of kicking and doing that kind of stuff?
So I am very type A personality. I cannot sit still for more than 3 minutes. But I'll watch a lot of film. I'll go even watch film from all of the games that kickers are playing in those stadiums from both directions, and how they're kicking, and kind of be able to judge how far the ball is moving right to left or left to right. So mine's more of a mental preparation than it is the meditation. I've tried to do meditation. I gotta get stronger for sure at being able to sit still for 15, 10, 20 minutes. I'll send it to you. I will tell you this. I do Pilates. I do some of the yoga. So I'm trying to get into some of that to try to help me as I get older, to kind of slow down the pace of life for sure.
But okay, this is my theory on meditation, right? When people have so much going on mentally, right? So like I'm such a ping pong ball in my mind where it's like I have so many things and I have so much stuff to do, and it's like, and you have kids and a wife and like 17 years and like all the things and like the golden chain, and like there's so many things that you have to think about to be you, right? And there's so many things that you have. So for me, the idea of like being chill didn't work. I had to give my mind a more peaceful thing to focus on. So I'll send you my kind of meditation for people who have a lot going on mentally.
Perfect.
Because when we kind of, instead of just trying to like chill out, it's like, how can we direct the focus from all the other like football things or life things into just a straight meditation thing, but it's still kind of that high intensity, like we got to focus. It's just a different style. So I'll send it to you and you can see what you think.
Yeah, I'd love to try it out. I think it'd be really good for me with all those external activities for sure.
Well, remember, mindfulness is it's just paying attention in a non-judgmental way to whatever's going on in your mind. So it's not like you're not going to think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you set the timer for 3 minutes and you just sit there and you think about what you're thinking about, but you're aware of what you're thinking about, you're meditating. It's all good.
Yeah, for sure. I have to definitely try it. You know, and I always thought that meditation was this concept where I need to find my Zen for 10 minutes. Yeah. And literally, so I've had vertigo for 3 years and I've been trying to kick this whole vertigo thing. I actually kicked in the NFL, my best season of my career with vertigo. I woke up in San Diego or LA and literally ran left into the wall. And I've been dealing with it for 3 years. And I'm actually on the back end of what I think kicking it. And one of those was meditation. So that's how I got introduced to meditation, is to try to turn off your brain, to turn off those external activities that you're thinking about. And so I've definitely tried it. I just have to get better at it.
Well, no judgment. It's
or
okay.
You haven't found the right tool yet.
Yeah, it's all good.
True.
Well, you have my email, call or whatever. We'll work on it.
I'll email you some stuff.
Okay, let's fashion preview and get rolling because Robbie's got 3 kids at home.
Yeah, Robbie's got things to do. Right. Okay, so obviously huge segment. We love to talk about the fashion. So Robbie, take us through, 17 years. Swag. Maybe paint us a picture of rookie year Robbie, and then maybe how he's transitioned and what he wears now.
Yeah, what's funny is every team is different. So my rookie year, really for 11 years, we had to wear suits on every away trip. The only time we could really dress down was for home games. And, I always treated it like it's a business trip. So it was jeans and a nice button down. When we got here with Kyle, it was kind of nice because we traveled Fridays for a Sunday game if we're a couple time zones going east. So I'm a big sweats guy. Like I love, as you can tell, like I love my sweats. I'm a huge golfer. So like I got all these sweats, sweatshirts and t-shirts and stuff from all these places I've been. But yeah, so now it's literally grab the most comfortable thing I can wear. And it's usually jeans and a button down. So one of my favorite brands, actually, I have it here, is it's called Faraday brand. Just like it's almost like a sweatshirt type of button down, but this will be something you would see me in with some jeans. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with, but I got turned on to these new shoes called On Cloud. And I started. They're so good. So I'll probably On Cloud, yeah. So I'll wear those just because I don't want to wear dress shoes. So it's kind of a relaxed, nicer athletic leisure shoe.
Okay.
So pretty much you figured out how to make a button-down shirt into a sweatsuit.
Nice. Oh yeah.
And a tennis shoe.
I like it. I got to say, my perception of kickers has gone way up during this podcast.
I appreciate that. I try with some of the other guys to break the curve for sure.
Yeah, because traditionally it's kind of a low bar for the most part, but it's all good. This has been really good. Thank you. Okay, Georgie, what do you got, man?
1 second. All right. Can you hear me?
You're taking it off your foot. Whoa!
Oh. Okay, watch.
Georgie, show us.
Got lights. All right, my
I
shoe.
love
Can you
it.
hear me?
Are you
I
gonna
don't
wear
need
it?
to hear
Are you
me.
gonna wear that on Sunday in Chicago?
This is my Halloween party.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So my shoes this week are the Dunk Lows. I hope you guys can hear me a little bit. These are the classics, black and white. I just got them. Very excited about it. Very clean. I can wear them with whatever I want. And I've been on a Dunk Low kick for a while. Robbie, I'm a big shoe guy. Love shoes. These are my most recent. Very excited about it, but I'm going to keep switching it up, go through some more Dunks. But this is also part of my fashion preview for the week because
I
Monday
think
is.
you should wear that. You should wear that on Sunday. You
So
should
wear
wear
this
that
on the
into
plane?
stadium. Yeah, for sure.
I have the whole body suit. It's already very warm. Hi. It's very warm in there, but it's really nice.
Love it.
Amazing.
Thank you. I dropped my
Robbie,
headphone.
your boys would love that.
So my boys are dressing up as the Ghostbusters. My wife
That's
literally
awesome.
just sent me a picture
Chicago,
of us.
baby.
Yeah, the Ghostbusters. So
Well, very cool. All right, so we got shoes and we got the Master Chief roaming the house. And I think George has got a skeleton in his front window, if I'm not mistaken. So,
I do.
all right. Well, we love that. So very cool on the fashion. So we kind of got the football segment, but we can go on a long time and we don't need to do too much. So Niners 2-4 and Bears at 3-4, and we'll see what happens. So it's all good. All right. We'll just jump over that unless you guys want to say something about the game. Yeah, excellent.
Let's
Okay.
go, baby.
So Robbie, mission statement for our podcast is sharing the untold stories of the people and communities impacted by social and environmental injustice. And so we're really big on giving back. Each week we send 6 veterans. So we're sending 6 veterans from the Illinois National Guard to the game. And our podcast,
That's awesome.
The second part of the show will be a veteran. He's actually so wherever we're playing, we have a veteran from there on the show for the second part. We partnered with a group called MVP, which is Merging Vets with Players. So this is the Chicago program director for MVP. So Oscar's going to be on, and so he'll pick a charity that we're going to kind of donate to. So, but a lot of this is about trying to raise awareness for some of the issues. Obviously, being in the league, as you mentioned, it's a very small number of players that have this opportunity, and to be around as long as you have, how rare that is. So we're super grateful for George's career and all the things that has happened for him. So we're wanting to do that. So I just want to say, and you've already mentioned it several times. So I know it's been big for you growing up, high school and college. So just a couple of things. You were the 49ers representative in 2018 for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, that's a huge deal. And so congratulations for that. So lots of respect. 2011, you started the Golden Touch Foundation to help those in need. And a lot of that has gone through your golfing stuff, and you've got some fundraising stuff going there. You can talk to us about that. And then in 2017 for the 49ers, the Perry Unami, am I close? Unity Award.
We'll go with
presented
it,
to 49ers. Okay. Player who exhibits exceptional commitment to promoting unity within the team and the community. And then you got your Kicking It with Robbie podcast. So you're doing a bunch of stuff out there. So just maybe share a little bit with our folks who are listening about the role of kind of giving back, your sense of commitment to doing that, and some of the things you're passionate about right now.
Yeah, well, one, I'm a firm believer that you don't get to the seat that you're sitting in without help, no matter what the job is, no matter if you're in the NFL or not. So, my heart lies in a bunch of different places. You talked about the Golden Touch. The Golden Touch was started to help different organizations collaborate in raising money for their organizations in Chicago. I then transitioned that into my hometown of Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. Most notably, over the summer, we've raised $1.9 million to build a brand new athletic facility in my hometown, which is really cool because a lot of the fields haven't been updated since I played 30 years ago. So we've broken ground on the facility. There'll be 6 baseball, softball fields combined, a couple playgrounds, a football field. Which hopefully we'll have that done by next spring, which is really cool. And I do a lot of work in Chicago with the Cows and Angels and pediatric cancer and hospitals in there, raising money and doing some things to help kids going through, you don't really go to a hospital usually much for anything that's crazy good. So to be able to comfort them in some ways, to let them know that they're not alone going through their fight is pretty unique for me. And then lastly, when I got here in San Francisco, it's been unique to be a part of the York family because they've done a lot to be able to give athletes a platform to give back into the community. And coming out, actually, we're rolling it out here in about 2 weeks. We have an RG9 hat collection from D Hudson, and we're raising money for a portion of the proceeds. $5 of every hat is going to go to the Silicon Valley First Tee, which is a unique program because it teaches kids the fundamentals that they need, not necessarily for golf, but like we talked about, being a professional, being on time, respecting each other, following rules, being there for one another, and teamwork. So we're really excited. It's cool because they're going to have hats from all the different types of professional sports teams here in the Bay Area. So it'll be awesome for people to be able to rock their favorite sports team in the Bay Area, and obviously give back to a great cause.
Well, that's pretty cool. So I guess I just want to say, one, kudos. So thank you for that inspiration and your leadership in those areas. And then second, send us any links or whatever. We'll put them in the show notes. And if people, we'll encourage folks, take a look. And if they're so moved, to help support some of the things that you're doing, which is really cool. So that's like all of that kind of stuff. And any other way that you want to mention that people can help support any of the causes that you're working on right now?
Yeah, they can follow me on social media on Instagram at Robbie Gould, Gould 09. And a lot of that's in the bio. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I think being able to give back and watch people flourish is a big part of I think your platform as a player in the National Football League at any level. So it's kind of cool. I know George goes a lot of them on Tuesdays, but you have a lot of teammates who get involved, which is really cool. Because it also brings the guys together for a day outside of football that you're not really talking about football. So you get to know your teammates really well there at those events.
Yeah. Well,
George, what do we eat, George?
Yeah. What do we got going there, Georgie?
Sorry, my dinner came out. I'm starving. I'm eating steak with a bunch of veggies.
Oh, nice.
Cauliflower. It's delicious.
What'd you have this morning in the bowl? Was it avocado and eggs?
Yeah, so it was a rice bowl with like Italian sausage in it. I think it was Italian sausage. And then it was covered in like a little omelet. And then it was covered in avocado and salsa. And then I got tortillas too, so I could make it into a little like a breakfast taco.
Baby breakfast.
That's why you're a tight end and I'm a kicker.
Ooh,
Exactly.
I'm eating good
Robbie,
right now, baby.
What's the highest weight that you ever got up to?
191. I hover right now at 185. So I'll fluctuate 185 to 190. I can't get over the 190 barrier. I got to eat all day long to keep my weight on.
All right.
So,
well, cool. Well, really appreciate using your format and your tenure with the league to do these things and to reach out to other people. So very cool, very inspirational. So we'll make sure we're posting all that stuff. So if you'll email me all that, I'll get it to Emmy. And
perfect.
she'll put it in the show. So that's great. So Emmy, you want to wrap us up?
All right. So as we wrap, one of the things that we like to do is just talk about where is the hope. So Robbie, for you, as big or as macro or as micro as you want to get it, what are one or two things that give you hope and that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think what gives me hope is my kids, truly. I mean, every day you get an opportunity to talk to and mold the future of America, really. And being able to watch how they respect not only their classmates, but when they walk down the street, knowing that no matter if they have somebody has a disability or if somebody's going through something like cancer, that everyone's special. And to me, it always centers me, so to speak, because I think in a game where things might not go your way or there's bumps in the road as a parent and what you see going on in all our communities, I think it gives you hope that everyone can try to find some common ground and learn about one another. And I get really excited about it. It's kind of unique because I feel like if everyone can take themselves into a locker room and learn from like what me and my teammates go through and how we learn from each other, and somebody picks up one small thing from those conversations, yeah, there's a lot of hope there.
That's awesome.
Pretty
Thank
cool.
you. Georgie, what do you got? Where's your hope?
Oh, I got two for you real quick.
Ooh.
First one being that I have hope. Well, something that makes me really happy. I'm excited to go back to Chicago, get back to the Midwest. I do miss the Midwest. Grew up there, so anytime I can get back in there, I love Chicago. It's a great city. So I'm looking forward to playing back at Soldier Field. I won't be playing, but I'm excited to be back there and in the great Midwest. Secondly, I think Robbie kind of touched on it, but like what gives me hope is that there's people out there like Robbie who are vets that take the time to continue to pass on lessons that he learned before. And I think that's such an important and impactful part of football that a lot of people don't realize. People are really big on the fantasy football points, if you're playing or not. And, who's doing like hurdling guys and breaking a bunch of tackles when, at the end of the day, it's a bunch of, men coming together to try to achieve a common goal. And you got guys that are 20 years old, you got guys that are 38 years old, and you're just a whole spectrum of people that are growing up at different, levels, different communities, different households, parents, the whole shebang. And the fact that, there's he was talking about the vets that helped him when he was young, the vets that helped me when I'm young, and then just trying to continue to pass on all the information has made us successful. And so that gives me hope. And it makes me excited to go to work tomorrow and beat the hell out of the Bears.
To continue to add another link to the Golden Chain.
We're adding links to the Golden Chain.
The Golden Chain.
Golden Chain. All right. Well, Robbie, we just want to say thank you for taking time away. I know it's another night with the family, so really appreciate you sharing your story with us. It's really, really cool getting to know you a little bit more and really appreciate it very much. So wish you the best. Hope you're getting healthy and can't wait to see you back on the field. And little George, it's always good to see your smiling, beautiful face and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, very cool. Anything else?
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right.
Here, Robbie.
See you soon.
Love you,
See you
Robbie.
guys.
Hi,
Thanks.
Beaner.
Bye, Robbie.
Okay.
All right, welcome to the second part of the podcast. We are very excited to welcome on our newest friend, Mr. Oscar Kush. So he's the current program manager for Chicago MVP. So super excited to hear his story and also just hear everything that's going on in Chicago. So now to his bio.
Indeed. The Bears, Niners at the Bears, Soldier Field, Monsters of the Midway. We grew up Bears fans. We love the Bears, so it's all good. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. So, they skipped over picks that they could have gotten.
George?
Yeah. I thought for sure he was going to go to the Bears, but they, oh well. Okay. Anyway, Oscar Kush, born and raised on the south side of Chicago. Like what street? Like how far south?
Oh, well, I grew up all over. We moved a lot when I was a kid. So I lived this far, like right in the middle of the city, and then slowly we moved out, as I'll get more into that later, probably.
Yeah. Okay. I just wondered. I had some South Side friends. I didn't know. Okay. With mom and sis, and then your father was a victim of street violence, passed away when you were just 3 months old. So growing up, Oscar excelled in academics and sports and was a wrestler and football player. All right. Identifying with that. After graduation from high school, though, he opted out of the old college grind and enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. After training, he graduated School of Infantry as a mortarman attached to the 1st Battalion, 1st Marines Weapons Company. Deployed overseas in 2011 with the 13th Marine Expedition Unit, and then again in 2012 to Afghanistan in the Helmand Province. All right, Oscar returned after his second deployment to the United States in November 2012. While he was still on active duty, he turned to the martial arts, got involved in MMA, and made his amateur debut in March of 2013 and a professional debut later that year. In early 2014, he fought for a regional title, throwing people right out of the dang ring. Okay, ended active duty with the Marine Corps in summer of 2014, stayed in California to pursue his MMA career and attend college. During this whole period of transition, it got a little bit overwhelming at times balancing the two, but he continued to stay with it, fought through, and did everything he could to make those things work. Found out about merging vets and players in the summer of 2017. Attended his first MVP session that summer while still in California and immediately understood why people liked it. Stayed connected, continued to do events as he was able to do with the MVP team. In mid 2018, Oscar decided to move back to the big old Windy City. It was calling him home. He'd been facing some struggles, wasn't in the best place mentally, felt returning to his hometown with a family would be best as he tried to figure out some of his next steps. That fall of 2018, MVP just coincidentally,
No such thing as
Oh, no.
coincidence.
we dare not say that. We don't think so. MVP opened up in Chicago. Oscar tells us it almost seemed like a first session and never looked back. Oscar would be a regular member of the program and huge advocate in trying to get others out to participate. MVP has been a huge factor in helping me figure out my transition and supporting me mentally with the battles that come through this process. Consistent participation and deep belief in the program, Oscar found himself accepting various leadership opportunities that came his way. In July of 2020, he was hired on to be the program coordinator for MVP Chicago. Very enthusiastic about MVP, and he emphasizes the empowerment of his fellow veterans and athletes. I was in some of the hardest points of my life, and MVP empowered me to be better. And now it's my chance to help do the same for others. Oscar has big goals for the program in Chicago and hopes to build it into a powerhouse and create positive change in the lives of both athletes and veterans. Life is full of ups and downs, but together we can get through it all. By empowering one another and working together, the world is ours. It starts in the gym and continues in our everyday lives. By using discipline and accountability, as well as empathy and understanding, we can all grow and heal and claim the lives we want for ourselves. So there you go. That is Oscar Kush. So welcome to the show, Oscar. Thank you for sharing that part of your story. Anything I botched in there or you want to immediately correct? Because I do that all the time. I just leave stuff out. So all good.
No, that was good. That was good.
All right.
Thank you.
Did you like the dramatic reading? Did I, I was kind of like putting into it there. So
No, it was good. You did great.
maybe I can get something on, it's not Broadway in Chicago, is it? What do they call it? Don't they have live theater though in Chicago? I've been to it.
Oh,
I can't remember.
I don't know why I'm not thinking of what street that is, but I know what you're talking about, the theater district.
Yeah. Because we saw, what was it?
Wicked.
Wicked. Yeah.
Blew my mind.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, well,
All right.
thank you again for being here. Super excited. So one of our goals with Hidden Pearls is to identify the hidden pearls in each community. And so, Oscar, clearly of all the things that you're doing to help, and we're going to kind of hear this story and everything unfold, but thank you for being one of our hidden pearls.
Thank you for considering.
Okay, so let's.
That's a compliment. I know it sounds like you're coming out of a slimy thing in the dark, but it's not.
No, it's a beautiful.
It's a beautiful pearl.
Okay, anyway, so let's take it back. Growing up in Chicago, Pops passed away when you were very young. What were some of the challenges that you faced growing up with your mom and sister?
Well, my mom had to work a lot. And then my sister is 7 years older than me. So there's kind of a little bit of a disconnect there. We went to different schools all the time. I love my sister. I love my mom. But, what's that term? Latchkey kid. It's kind of how we were for a little bit, growing up. We moved a lot. My mom did everything she could to provide for us. And I'm forever grateful for her. But the thing is that fatherly thing, I see it now, right? Now I have a house and just 2 days ago, my basement flooded. I don't know how to do handy stuff because I never really had anyone to teach me that. So I'm kind of like, I got to figure that out. So that kind of thing from, I guess, a father that I wish I had. But on the positive, if there is a positive, it taught me to be independent, also be able to provide for them however I could, be a man early. So that's just kind of that.
So between you, your mom, and your sister, which one would you say is the toughest?
Oh, my mom. My mom is the toughest. She's a hard-headed woman. She's my hero. I love her. And right now, unfortunately, she was just in a car accident. Someone hit her, and anyway, she's recovering, and she's so hard-headed. It's so tough, and she's trying to get up and move around, and get back. And we're like, Ma, you got to calm down. You got to calm down. But you'd be surprised the way she's moving. It's incredible. She's strong, even in her age. I'm very proud of her. I love her. I love her so much. Mama's boy.
Good. Well, there's a long line and history of tough working women in those big metropolis trying to take care of their kids, and especially in the single family parent setting. So hats off to her. What's her name?
Marilyn.
Maryland. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Maryland. Hope for a quick and speedy recovery. Very cool.
Well, so what is maybe one of the hardest or best lessons that your family taught you growing up?
But just the power of hard work. Watching both my mom and just everyone in my family, their ability to work hard, and if you put in the work, things will pay off. I've watched my mom take us from small apartments, no father, and she was working 2 jobs. She was going to school. She became an RN, all while raising 2 kids. And to me, it's like that hard work and dedication she was able to provide for me. I'm just like super grateful for that, and I try to do that in my own life now for my daughter and everything. And so, just the power of hard work. That's Kush, as we say. We're what do we say? Me and my mom were talking the other day, and I go, I'm like, you got to rest, Ma. You got to rest. And she's like, no. And I say, we're Kushes. We don't rest, do we? So, yeah.
Right. We can sleep when we're dead.
Sometimes stillness is a lot harder than the movement.
Uh-huh.
So then what were some of your favorite things you now appreciate? Some of your favorite things, or maybe some of your favorite things now about Chicago?
Oh, Chicago. The grit mentality, it's just a tough city. And it's one thing I've always loved about it. I've had the opportunity to travel. I lived in San Diego. I lived in Los Angeles. I spent a lot of time in different countries. Everywhere I go, I always seem to levitate to someone from Chicago. Everywhere I go, I wear a Chicago hat. That brotherhood. There's just this thing about people from here that we have this pride. I have it tattooed on my chest and my arm. And I just, that grit and that hard work goes back to what I was just saying from my mom and everything. That's what I enjoy.
That's cool. Well, it's true. Chicago, there's a lot of beauty there. There are some things, with the lake and the shorefronts and all those kind of pieces and all that. But it's not always an easy place to live or to be, or just to get around and survive in and all that. Not just the weather, between the wind and the cold. To Chicago this week, and
Anybody who's living and thriving there, you got to work to be there.
Well done. Okay. Well then, so Chicago, what high school were you then in Chicago?
So I went to Richards High School. It's just outside the city in Oak Lawn on 109th and Central.
Okay. When you graduated, you decided to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. So it sounds like school wasn't really a problem or anything like that. So how'd you decide, instead of college, you decided to go to the Marine Corps? And what year would that have been in? Is that 2009 or 10, somewhere in there? Or?
So I graduated high school in 2009. I did apply to some schools. I wanted to go. I had dreams of playing football, but that wasn't really going to work out in my favor. It just wasn't in the cards for me. But I did really take to wrestling. But it was too late. I was already a senior by the time I considered wrestling at the next level. And I wanted to continue doing something, working hard. And school is okay, but I just like to be in the gym and all that. So I figured, why don't we see what the Marines is doing? One of my best friends I played football with, who graduated the year prior, was going to join. He was like, oh, I'm joining the Marines. I need a buddy for the buddy program. I'm like, all right, we'll give it a shot. It's 4 years, I ended up signing for 5. But it was a good time. It has ups and downs, but Hugo is a big inspiration for that, and just wrestling and playing football and getting that mindset of like just doing that kind of stuff. It just seemed like a natural fit to go into that.
All right. And it must have been intentional then for the Marine Corps instead of Army or somebody else.
Well, honestly, it's because Hugo was going, and that's the branch he joined, and I was like, all right, well, we'll join that one. There wasn't much more of that. It's funny because I have some family that are Marine vets and Army vets, but it was more because I'll be honest, because of Hugo, and he was like, I want to be a Marine, and I'm like, all right, well, yeah, I could do that with you. So yeah, we did it.
Well, that's as good as reason as any then, I suppose. So, all right, then you went through basic training, came out a mortar man. So it sounds like you load mortars and shoot them at people. So, but how was basic, and what were some of the lessons that you picked up, from that? That's a big adjustment, I think, for a lot of high school grads who go into that. It's very physical and demanding and all that kind of stuff. So maybe your wrestling and football kind of prepared you, but how did that impact you, and what'd you come out with as far as some lessons?
Boot camp was interesting. The physical fitness portion of it wasn't necessarily the part that I was big. I'm a big guy for that realm. I think when I went to boot camp, I'm 6'3" and I weighed probably 240 pounds. So I'm already going to be one of the bigger guys in the boot camp. But because of the wrestling and when we did all the training to get to boot camp and everything, I always excelled in that. The hard part that I struggled with was getting yelled at. Fortunately for me, I felt like I didn't get yelled at as much as everybody else. At least I didn't get picked on as much as I thought I would. Overall, it was a good experience. I'm super grateful for those guys. At the time, you hate them. You're like, oh. But when I reflect on it now, I laugh and I think about how maybe miserable I thought I was. But it is a lot of fun. I'm not saying I'd go do it again. But I'm grateful for that experience. I love the experiences, and that was one that was very interesting.
Okay. Well, very good. Okay. Then let's see. So then eventually got deployed twice, in 2011 and then 2012. Just anything what kind of experiences did you have that you'd be wanting to share? And then again, kind of just like, what did you learn? How did that change you when you came back?
Yeah, so in 2011, I deployed with 1st Battalion, 1st Marines. I was with them the whole time, Weapons Company, 81st Platoon. And our call sign was No Love. Great group of guys. Talked to them. We just had a big group call a couple weeks ago. Great to talk to them. And we went our first deployment in 2011 was the 13th MEU. Basically, we were attached to a Navy ship. I was an LPD. And we went from San Diego. And then we went out to Hawaii, Guam, and then we floated into the middle of the Arabic Ocean, that area, and we were in. I'm trying to think of us all. There's a lot of places we went to: Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Oman, Dubai, and then we went to Thailand and Australia. Some of those we just went for like rest and refit. Some of those we did training. So I had the opportunity to train the Saudi Arabian Army. We got to train with them, work with them a little bit. And that was in 2011, as well as the Jordanian Army. We did some stuff with them that year as well. We got to do some really cool, like team building stuff, go to Petra. That was a really cool time in 2011. So then we did that. We sailed back. That was 8 months. So we would have been back, was that October of that year. And then we came back, did leave. And then just a few months later, we're training. We honestly didn't know we were going to deploy anywhere. And we're in the field, and our whole chain of command comes out. And everyone's so confused, like it's an emergency or something. And we're thinking we're going to kick back. We just got back from deployment. We're going to relax a little bit. And then they all come back and they say, good. Guess what, guys? We're going to Afghanistan in like 60 days. So sure enough, okay, well, let's go do it. It was great. We had pretty much the same group. We lost a few guys, but pretty much the same group. So that was good. We did the training, went right out to the desert, did that training, got to go home for a weekend, and then shot over to Afghanistan in 2012, the summer. I turned 21 in Afghanistan because we just got there, and I just turned 21 in July. And we stayed there until November. I was in Kajaki, which is the northern part of Helmand, and that's the more mountainous terrain. Up there, I was on the gun line with our platoon, our 81st platoon. And then after that, we went down south to support our other half of our platoon and just provided security down there with those guys. And it was great. I mean, not great, but like, how do I put this? Our deployment, for me, I didn't do like too much craziness, and I'm grateful for that because they always say like the grass isn't greener on this side. I had a lot of guys in my platoon that did, and I love them, and and it's just thinking back on that, it's like such an interesting time being both living on the ship for the 8 months, going from place to place, and then going to Afghanistan with these guys. Some of these guys, one of the guys I was in Afghanistan with lives a couple blocks away. We have a daughter that's the same age. They play together and everything. They're going to go to school together and everything. And the deployment, it was interesting, but we came back. Everyone came back. We had one guy get wounded, but he was okay in our platoon. We did lose one guy in our unit, Doc Beecham, rest his soul. But overall, as a unit, we did okay, and I'm grateful for that. And came back from that, and then started to get ready to get out of the Marines. Got into fighting after that. That's kind of where I went from there.
Okay.
Well, thank you for sharing all that with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so that whole experience, and then, like you said, visiting, and then your time in Afghanistan and coming back. So when you came back then in 2012, you ended up staying in California and that transition. So talk a little bit about, and then so you had about, was it a year and a half or so before, once you got back, before you were out of the military, is that right? Something like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's just like, how's the transition back to the States once you've been deployed like that? Did you have some obstacles or struggles with that? And then leaving the military, same thing.
So it's kind of interesting. Coming back from Afghanistan, you're kind of in that mindset of you just want to like celebrate being home and that kind of stuff. And I did. We did. I think we had 30 days off. So I got home, was able to relax, probably put on some weight. But overall, I wasn't really struggling with adapting just yet. I came back from leave and like immediately, because I'm a bigger guy, I have to watch my weight, the military standards and everything. I gained a little bit too much weight while I was on leave. So I was like, oh man, I gotta lose some weight. So I started wrestling, right? I was a wrestler. So I was like, well, the easiest way is to get back on the mat and do some wrestling. So sure enough, I did that. I got into wrestling, and that kind of helped me in that last year and a half. I was able to really focus on that, and I really took to it. I got into wrestling, and then I started fighting while I was still on active duty. And I when I would get off work, I'd go and do that. So my transition for that last year and a half was actually pretty good. My unit supported me fighting. There was some pushback and stuff, but overall, they let me go to the gym. They signed off on my fights, and were overall support. They let me out early to pursue it. So, I mean, I am forever grateful for that opportunity.
That's pretty cool. Well, it is interesting that way, how having a physical commitment that way, that kind of, works the body, which relieves the spirit and the mind. I think at least it does for me. And so, yeah, it's something to focus. And so when you talk about wrestling though, that was your transition into MMA though also, right? I mean, is that
Yes.
kind of when you got, okay. So then you kind of got started with all that. So all that's working. And so you have a few fights, and then you're out of the Marine Corps in 2014. And so then it sounded though like you started hitting some bumps in the road then.
Yeah, a little bit. In 2014, it was still going well. I got out. I moved to Huntington Beach to pursue fighting as well as going to college. The biggest thing I struggled with during that time was balance, right? I was trying to be like a cage fighter and make it to the UFC and do all this stuff, but also trying to keep my grades up and make sure I was still learning and getting education, because in my mind, I knew I couldn't get hit in the head forever. So I wanted to at least learn something at the same time. And, it had downfalls maybe in the trajectory, but overall, I think it taught me a lot. And where I am today, I'm grateful for that. I would say everything was going pretty good. Probably, 2014, moved into Huntington Beach till 2016. And then I was training out there. And then I think the realization kind of hit me. I wasn't really fitting in with the teams I was trying to go to. I had that team, that military team of my platoon. And then in that last year and a half, and about I had that team of fighters that I was with while I was still in active duty. But then finally, I decided I'm going to jump to Huntington Beach. I'm going to by myself. I don't really know anybody. I'm going to go to this gym that has some of the best fighters in the world. I'm going to engulf myself in there. And this was the first time I went somewhere and felt like I didn't fit in. And I don't think it was anything that happened at the gym. I would go to all sorts of gyms, and I just had a hard time fitting in. For whatever reason, it just was hard for me. So it was okay. I just kept going, but it was kind of eating me up. And then I eventually heard of MVP, a guy I served with, Shane Maple, one of my best friends I served with. I was in Afghanistan with him. He was living in Los Angeles at the time. He was in a shelter, and the same shelter as Denver Morris, one of the guys who started this. And he tells me, he says, "Oh man, he came in. There's this thing called MVP, and you should check it out. I think you'd like it. It's the gym, and that kind of feel. I think you might be into that kind of thing." And then he connected me with Denver, and I'll be honest. At first, I was like, "Nah, I'm good. Leave me alone. Like I don't want anything to do with that." And it took me a while. And then Shane mentioned it a couple more times. He didn't really buy into it either, but he did mention it for me. But Denver would hit me up from time to time. And then surely enough, in about 2017, I was going to school. I remember I was really struggling with just finals and shit. And I was freaking out. And I'm like, I'm going to go to this MVP thing and see what it's about. So I did. I remember I drove up. I was living in Huntington Beach about an hour and a half. I drove up there. I went to the session. It was a good time. It was really cool to see the vibe. It was a smaller group at the time. And I didn't really go back after that. I went back to school and went back to training and everything. And then later that summer, I was in Vegas, and I stopped at the one in Vegas, and I met Noel when he was he's our COO now, and he was the program manager then. It was super cool to meet him. And I just kind of always stayed like in one arm's distance, but never like jumped in. Right. And then they came down to San Diego. We did an event there. And all this while I'm still going to school, trying to figure out if I'm going to be the UFC heavyweight champion of the world or what the hell I'm going to do. I ain't got no idea. I'm just like trying to figure it out. I don't want to go home because I had this event, I just like this adventurous life. But there came a point I was working. This is now in 2018. And I'm working at the airport as a baggage handler. And the biggest reason I did that was for the flight benefits. So I could fly around and go over, to train or visit my family or, whatever the case may be. I was still training. And I decided to stop going to school. I'm like, I'm just going to work and fight. And I ended up having a fight in 2018. I ended up losing a split decision, or it was a unanimous decision. I would have thought it was a split, but I ended up losing. And after that, that's where things got a little confusing. I'd really bet on myself in the sense that like the way I set up the sponsors and all that stuff, I had to win to make it like a good amount of money that I wanted to. And with losing, I didn't get that. And kind of put me in a weird spot with where I was working at the airport, trying to live in San Diego, trying to stay up. I was really betting on myself. And I'll be honest, I failed on that bet. And so things got kind of weird. I was trying to figure out what to do. Should I stay? Should I go? How do I keep the stream going? And then in the summer of 2018, I just had to make a decision. I was working, and I'm like, I gotta go home for a little bit. I gotta see my family. I need to reset. I was just in a weird place. I just lost my friend, a guy I served with, to suicide, and it really sucked. To be honest, I was just struggling with so much, not sure what the fuck was gonna go on. Mourning Wormy's death, and I just quit my job. I didn't give a 2-week notice or anything. I quit my job. I had like $600 in my bank account. I got my car, my dog. I got rid of whatever I could. And I got in my car with my dog, Carl, and we got on the road and drove back to Chicago. I stopped to see some friends on the way. I didn't even tell them I was like hurting for money or nothing. I had no plan getting home. But I did know that MVP was going to be opening up. It was a weird coincidence. I'm going through all this. I'm struggling through all this. And then all of a sudden MVP is going to open up. I had like a month till it was going to open. And I'm like, okay, well, so I had the road trip. The road trip was good. I get home and immediately like I'm trying to find a job, and I'm in this headspace where it's like, how do I put this? I felt like I was owed a good job because of my service, right? Like, oh, I can't go shovel snow, or I can't go, I got to do something bigger than that. And that was something I really struggled with at that low point, was humbling myself. And it was really weird. I don't know how to explain it. I just had a hard time with that. So I didn't work at first because it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I was not having money. I don't know what I was doing. I was just kind of in a pit. MVP opens up. I go to MVP. I start going. It was just good to be there. It was hard in the beginning, though. It was hard in the beginning to go to MVP here in Chicago, even because I couldn't tell people what was going on. I didn't want to tell them what was going on. My friends, a lot of my friends and family are probably going to listen to this and probably don't know none of this. Probably the first time they're going to hear it, truth be told. Because I put on that front, put on that smile, everything was okay, but it wasn't. It was okay. I mean, I still had good support. I had some friends that would listen to me when I was really about to break down and would have those conversations. And I got an MVP. I started going. I kept going. Next thing I know, I did get a job. One of my old friends in the wrestling community, he called me up. He says, "Hey, let's go to a game. Let's talk. Let's see what you're doing." So there's a plumbing company, and they called me. We went to the game. We talked about wrestling, growing up, all these different things. And he's like, "If you want a job, I'll help you. We can get you a job. You come do things for us." And sure enough, I did that. So that kind of helped. Now I have that team. I have that team again of MVP now. I'm starting to week by week, starting to get more close with these guys, starting to really, build these relationships. Now it doesn't happen overnight either. It doesn't, it takes time to build that, and it's ups and downs. But to this day, I mean, we got a lot of the original people that were still here when I started, and it's been so great to build those relationships. And without that team of both my vets from MVP and then also my wrestling buddy Jordan, and how much when I came back to Chicago, how much both those communities, the wrestling and the veteran community, embraced me. I'm super grateful for it, because it really dragged me out of a place where I was really struggling. I was broke and all these different things. My mom couldn't understand me. My sister was doing everything she could to help me, but she couldn't understand me. But when I finally got around all these people that could understand me, it was like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one that's struggling with these inadequacies, dealing with these things of like, just like, well, what am I going to do? And I was a mortarman in the Marines, and then I was a professional and amateur cage fighter. And what am I going to do? Go work at fucking McDonald's? Excuse my language. That was my first job. I love that job. I love McDonald's. Shout out McDonald's. No, just kidding. But anyway, I started working for the plumbing company, kept going to MVP. And I just kept going, kept being a part, getting better. Empowerment is a word. It's one of our pillars, and it's a word I really, now as being the program manager here for Chicago, I really lean into. It's something I really care about, empowering our members to be the best versions of themselves, because they empowered me to be the best version I could be. And that's what I'm grateful for, this team, and we're in this whole little journey we've gone on. Every day I'm still learning. I got a lot of flaws still I'm trying to work through, but I got a team with me, and I'm grateful for that. And I know I'm rambling, so I'll let you guys ask me something next.
Well, I wanted just to, I guess, just highlight a couple of things that you said, which, I mean, there's some common themes with some of the vets that we've talked to, right? So we've had that opportunity. And so, the transition back, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it hits you. I mean, the age group that you're back, some of the experiences that you had, the closeness that you had with those people, and then that whole thing is just all of a sudden kind of gone. And there you are left holding all of those pieces. Obviously, vet suicide is a huge issue. So we haven't had anybody on the show that hasn't dealt with that. You know, it's such a common, unfortunate tragedy that folks are dealing with. And then just trying to kind of figure all that out in the mix of all those things. So, and the difficulty that even those close to people going through that have in understanding, even if they know something's going on, a lot of times they don't even know really what to do or how to help. And it's a really difficult situation. And then on the flip side, how difficult it is to ask for help in that way, because you got to have a huge level of trust. You got to be vulnerable enough to do it. And it's just not something that's immediately built in to all of us. So a lot of those kind of things. And I think what you talked about MVP, and we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail though, is that it takes time. There's ups and downs like any relationship. But if you keep showing up, eventually you can build the relationship, develop some trust, and things can get a little bit better. Maybe you get to a place where you can have some of those conversations. So I did just want to follow up though, and because one of the pieces that we talk about, so we do some, we do mental prep work with athletes and with other folks, talking a little bit, and our stuff is all kind of meditation and mindfulness based and that kind of thing. But just talking about, having mental toolkit to help people get through things and to achieve their goals and all that kind of stuff. So I just wondered, when you talk about empowerment, if you could break that down a little bit. I mean, what does it mean to empower your members to become best version of themselves? And what are some of the tools, that you find to be successful in that? And or for yourself, like how do you keep focus, motivated, inspired, set goals or any of those kind of things? Are there particular tools that you use either personally or with MVP that you've seen to be successful?
I think the biggest thing is just supporting them and being there for them. I think the members we have, that they have a lot of goals, and just trying to encourage those goals and nurture those. I think once we find I think a lot of the part in transition is finding that mission, that next mission. And then once they do find that mission, whatever that may be, whether it's gardening or jujitsu or whatever, nourishing that and figuring out how we can make that something more for them to continue. And that alone, I feel like that helps just in the day to day. I come from, the plumbing and jujitsu and all these different things. It's apprentice master based, right? And like, there's this thought process of like learning and encouragement and all these different things. And in MVP, I think as a whole, what these guys accomplish, what they're doing, it's not necessarily because of me, but it's because of the team and the culture we have that builds us to be the best persons of ourselves. It doesn't work if it's just me and, just me. It only works if it's all of us together, motivating, working together. And that's something that we've really been able to do here in Chicago. And I'm super proud of. We have a guy who's on pace to bike 2,000 miles. We have this season. He never did that before, this year. We have another guy, a lot of people that are just doing such great things. And I couldn't be more proud of them. And any way I can to help them, whether it's through, anything we can do in the program, but also outside of the program, connecting them, however I can support them, even if it's just bouncing ideas and having those conversations, even if it's just event outside the huddle, those are super important as well.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, even though the initial big bet on yourself with your fight didn't quite play out the way you wanted it to, betting on yourself did in turn line a lot of things up for you. And even from the lessons and teaching you how much that you needed to come back and be a part of the team. And I think that's such like an interesting thing, especially since you're a wrestler. I feel like, I know there's a wrestling team, but it's such here we go.
Oh, sorry. Flashback.
That's good.
But I mean, it's such an individualized sport, and so, but it's cool to hear like how the team mentality has been so important to you, and obviously to you too. But so as wrestlers are all a little quirky to me.
Yeah.
But either way, we like the quirkiness. So can you tell us a little bit about like maybe anything else about just being program manager and what you do?
Oh yeah, so program manager. I mean, right now we're just running the chapter here in Chicago every week. We meet on Wednesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. The first hour we do a workout. We have a trainer, Dwayne Allen, who leads us through that. I sometimes do it, but mainly he's the head guy. And then after that, we do the huddle. And the huddle is a great place for us to talk, come together through these similar experiences, both the veterans and the former athletes. There's a lot of correlations there, just to talk about and get through that together, and just fight that loneliness. And besides for that, we try to do a lot of different events. We're going to do a 5K together in a couple of weeks. We played a big softball. Chicago is a big 16-inch softball city. So we did all summer. We had this huge softball thing, and we had 30 people out in a tournament, all had MVP jerseys. We didn't win the tournament, but we had a great time. And the biggest thing is just trying, having that weekly session, but also harnessing those events outside the huddle, outside of the weekly, and just trying to build those relationships, get out. I mean, now we got guys going to games together, the girls, everybody's doing everything together, and then just building that team and just making sure it's more than just Wednesday nights.
Well, very cool. So it sounds like Chicago's off and running in a really neat spot. So
Bummed that because we were going to come, George is not playing this weekend, but we were going to come and maybe meet all you guys in person.
I keep trying to get Nate to give me an invite to one of the meetings, and he's holding it out. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not a vet, but I feel like it's one of those USA commercials, where I don't have a member number, so they won't let me in, but I am a former player. So that should qualify for something, but so far.
No, you're a former player. That counts. You can definitely come in.
Well, Nate was holding out on me, because that's what I kept saying. I go, well, when's the Chicago meeting? And maybe we'll come up early and we could just, hang out, meet a couple people.
We will have our meeting tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow is our last Thursday session. So are you guys gonna be here? No.
Well,
No.
we're not, because George isn't playing. So otherwise,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to be in town, and we're going to come back early for it and try to do that. So we'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, I'll keep hitting Nate up. But next time we're back in Chicago, I'll have to ring you up. So that'll be good.
Please, I'd love to.
Well, then,
I have a question. So with kind of this MVP program, and obviously you guys have the training and the workout side, do you do any sort of meditation, breath work, yoga with those types of workouts, or is that part of your curriculum at all?
So sometimes we do a cool down where we do some breathing techniques. The owner comes in, Dave, and he'll do that for us, some Tai Chi breathing methods. We haven't done, I don't know, yoga exactly. That is something that we wanted to do in the future, but we just haven't done that yet here in Chicago.
Wow, I'm a yoga teacher. If you need anything, that would have been a fun collab this weekend, but
yeah, so we'll have to see, and maybe something in the off season, because we're a little bit closer during the off season. But either mindfulness or meditation, indoor yoga, or a combo thing if you ever want to. So we'll figure it out.
Oh, that would be great. I'd love to do that.
Okay. So let's see. Just, I don't know if there's much more. We've talked a lot about MVP on this show and overall this season, but mission to empower combat veterans and former professional athletes by connecting them after the uniform comes off, providing them with a new team to assist with transition, promote personal development, and show them that they are never alone. So really, I think that kind of aligns with everything that you've been telling us about why it was successful for you and what's working. Core components of the program, and I've just put this together based on what people have told me. So there's a physicality part that's really helpful. So your body stays in shape, plus releases tension and stress, plus it's kind of a bonding thing. The mentality thing about sharing all that lowers anxiety and stress, helps with focus and confidence, provides support and accountability, and to improve mind, body, and spirit. And then the weekly sessions, MVPs of family, community of brothers and sisters, people who understand and know you, provide support, place to speak mind and share emotions. And an MVP, people understand what vets and what players have been through. So everybody can kind of gather. And when you have that kind of common thing, it's easier to share what's going on with you and get some help. And then let's see, and everybody needs a team. So that's kind of what we've gathered over the years with input from the other MVP people that we've had. Anything else you want to tell us about MVP that we haven't touched on yet? So make sure people understand it.
I think you hit it on the head.
Okay.
Well, I have a question as program director.
Yes.
And I guess
You're the program director?
no, he is.
Oh, you're our program director.
True.
True.
So I really thought it was interesting what you said about kind of the concept of like finding the next mission and like fighting loneliness. And loneliness is such a massive cause of death and really a reason why people get so separated. And I think loneliness, if it's not being talked about, just needs to really be destigmatized in a way and kind of embrace like the importance of embracing community. But I guess for those listeners, maybe somebody who just needs to hear this, but if you were to talk to somebody who is like kind of dealing with loneliness and maybe now finally being able to like put the words to what they're feeling, or like how would you recommend somebody starts the fight against loneliness?
So one thing I always say is the hardest part is showing up. You know, once you show up and you get there, but it's hard to get there. That's more often not the hardest part. What I would say is take that leap. You know, walk into that room and see what happens. It's worth a shot. I've always been a guy who's taken a lot of opportunities, as many as I could take. You know, come my way. And MVP was one of them. Like I said, I pushed it off for a long time. And then I finally decided, okay, I'm going to step in. Once I stepped in, I mean, it changed the trajectory of my life. Everything Nate, everything Jay has done, Denver, Shane. Shane is no longer with us anymore. That's hard for me, but he introduced me to this. And I'm grateful every day for him for this. And I'll say that he's a big reason why I'm here and why we do this. And I'm just so grateful that we can help these vets and the players as well, just have that team again and not be lonely, because loneliness is, we live in this society, right? Where sometimes it's like people, they kind of like a loner mentality is embraced, right? It can be embraced, but you're gonna burn yourself out eventually. You know, and you got to have a team or a family, whatever that is, that you can kind of lean on, because you can't be tough forever. I know I thought I could do it and I couldn't, but luckily I had a team to have my back.
Yeah, but it's built in, and I haven't been in the military, you know, and so I don't want to speak for it, but there's this kind of apparent kind of macho, super tough, which, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you have to do that in those settings, in some of the situations that people are placed in, there's no doubt. But it's kind of this whole, you know, kind of John Wayne, tough guy, you know, loner out there. And, you know, that's the model, in that if you don't fit that model, somehow you're a wimp, or you're not, whether manly or womanly. I mean, I think a lot of the women that go through some of these things face some of the same kind of issues about asking for help as well. So I guess all we want to do is encourage people, whatever capacity or background you come from, if there's an MVP chapter near you, reach out and make a connection and give it a chance and see where it takes you. So I think that's really strong, encouraging words. Is hardest part is just getting started. The hardest part of any journey is that first step. You know, when you commit yourself to making that first step and just moving in that direction, and then next thing you never know what's going to happen. So, all right, Oscar, before we close though, I asked you for another charity in Chicago that you wanted to support, and you gave me Beat the Street Chicago. So I had no idea. I thought no clue, right? I flip on the webpage, you know, the website, and I'm like, dude, I'm all over. This is pretty cool. So empowering Chicago youth through wrestling. Get out of here. We offer wrestling and enrichment programs that give Chicago youth the skills they need to succeed in life. Our coaches, mentors, and generous donors share our vision that every child can be a life champion. So give us a short little piece on Beat the Streets, why you support it. And we're going to split the donation this month, or this week, for this week's show, between MVP and Beat the Streets. So tell us just a word or two about Beat the Streets.
Oh, Beat the Streets is just a phenomenal program. They give the opportunity to teach wrestling to the inner city youth. Wrestling is something that's been huge in my life. And if we can, as someone who didn't have a father growing up, I had a lot of great mentors through wrestling. So if we're able to provide that to kids like myself growing up, I want to be able to do that. And it's just been such an intricate part of my journey, just as much as MVP. So I'm grateful for both equally.
Yeah, well, it's really good. So I grew up in Iowa, so wrestled in high school, and then went to the University of Iowa and was fortunate enough to be actually played football and wrestled there my first 3 years, and when Dan Gable was still the coach. And it was quite the experience, as you can imagine. So the ability that sports in general, but wrestling in particular, the things that it can teach and bring is pretty phenomenal, at least through my experience. So we're proud to be able to support. So, all right, Annie, you want to close this out?
Well, so, and Oscar, you're not going to be going to the game this weekend because you have
we're having a Halloween party at my house for my daughter, and we're having some other kids over and stuff. So got to take care of the family. I do really appreciate the invite, though. I'm sorry I can't make it.
That's the best
good.
turn down we've received so far.
Well, how about, well, normally if the vet and the guest are at the game, we always ask them to take a picture and send it to us so we can post it. Would you be willing, we get a Halloween party pic of the family, you and the daughter?
Of course. Yeah, no problem.
Shoot that to us. So while the Niners and Bears are playing, you'll be all dressed up. So that'll be pretty
Trust
exciting.
me, I talked to the wife about going, if how we can make it work, but I gotta, yeah.
No, that's
so
okay.
I'll definitely give you that photo.
All right.
Okay.
Get us the photo. So,
all right. Well, last thing that we like to close with is we always try to see glass half full. And so, Oscar, macro, micro, where's the hope for you?
Where's the hope? That's an interesting question. Hope for me is, when I think of the hope for me, I think of my family, whether it's MVP or it's my family, my actual family. Hope for me is just a bright future, us doing good things. And I don't know if I'm answering this one right. I feel like I'm messing this one up.
No. There's no wrong. There's no wrong.
Hope for me is a happy life, a happy life and a fulfilled life, right? For me and my family and anyone I could touch. You can't change the world. I always say you can't change the world, but you can change around you, the people around you, and have that positive impact. And that gives me hope. That's where I'm at with that.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, Oscar, I just want to say that you're hopeful for me, because when I hear your story and the kind of struggles that you've had, and then your willingness, and yes, it took a little bit of time, but just how invested you are and how passionate you are about just being present with whoever shows up for the huddle and trying to fill in and be whatever role you need to be for them, given whatever it is that they're going through. And so that kind of caring capacity, mentor, friend, those are not easy to find. I mean, that's one thing about our culture right now is, we're more connected than ever digitally, but less connected, partly because of COVID, but partly because of the digital stuff and a lot of artificial relationships in the day, you know what I mean? And those can be really punishing and difficult and painful. And so hopefully as we get more healthy and people can spend more time together, we can have more of the real relationships, stay connected and engage with each other so people don't feel alone and we can help them along their path. And you're one of the journeymen along that path, you're well past the apprentice stage into your master journeyman as far as a good friend and teammate. So we honor you today and we thank you for being on the show. So a lot of great lessons out of it. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Emmy, you want to close with anything or are we good?
Oh, I'm good. That was great.
Okay.
Well, yeah, just thank you so much for being on. If you ever need anything, reach out. We can't wait to see your Halloween costume.
Oh, so, hey, send us, if there's a particular link for the Chicago, there's a separate website for the Chicago MVP?
I don't believe so. It's all the same.
Okay, so I can just go to the regular place because that's where I've done the other MVP donations all at the same spot. So we'll do that. Okay, so we'll do that and then I'll take care of the streets. And then if you will send us an address, we're going to send you one of these snappy Hidden Pearls shirts.
Oh,
So
great.
we're
I'll
down
take a
with the
picture
boys.
and send it to you.
Send that back. So we just want you to spread the love a little bit with that. That would be great. Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
I'll share it for you. I got you.
Okay. And then if by chance the Niners and the Bears play in the playoffs, all right, we'll redeem those tickets that we had for you.
I really appreciate that.
All right. We'll get another time though. So that'll be great. All right, man. Take care. Best to the family and tell all the folks at the huddle hello for us. And we hope to join you in one of your meetings one of these days soon.
looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Hey, I'm just coming at you this week. Niners are at the Bears, the Chicago Bears, monsters of the Midway. We grew up in Iowa, and we were always pretty big Bear fans. So anyway, shout out to my college teammate, Jay Hilgenberg, 85 Super Bowl, and Mark Bortz. Anyway, a couple of Iowa guys that were on that Super Bowl team. So shout out to those guys, but we've been Bears fans for a really long time. So exciting, always to get back to Chicago. This week, George won't be playing. So regret that, but hopefully he's back on the field shortly. I do want to do this as just a quick shout out to, as you guys know, we're partnering with MVP, merging vets with players. And each week, even on the road, we are partnering with that state's National Guard in order to send 6 veterans to the game. So this week we've been working with the Illinois National Guard for a trip to the Bears-Niners game. So we want to thank all those folks. We want to thank Command Sergeant Major O'Neill of the Illinois National Guard for helping us arrange this. And of course, always a shout out to CSM Curtis Hayes of the California National Guard, who helps us any game in California. And then he's also hooking us up with everybody all over the country as we travel. So shout out to those. And again, National Guard, man, these dudes are all over it. They've been super helpful, and we are really very proud to be able to do this. Our team leader for the 6 attendees at this week's is SFC Jonas Venable. His bio, Sergeant First Class, Jonas Venable. 17 years of service, all in the Illinois Army National Guard. First 8 years were in the infantry with 2 tours of Iraq, or 2 tours, one in Iraq, one in Afghanistan. Then overseas training to Poland, a state activation to help on flood duty, and 1 year as a First Army trainer with PTAE. He has 9 years since then now in recruiting, where he's landed his full-time AGR career. He received a bachelor's degree from Eastern Illinois University using the National Guard grant. His wife, also a National Guard member for 18 years. She has 2 overseas tours, also one in Afghanistan, the other in Kuwait. And she has her MBA, and that was also all paid from the military. So both Lisette and Jonas are extremely proud to be part of the National Guard, be part of the Illinois National Guard, and very grateful for everything that it has done for them. So we thank them for their service. The other 5 team members that are attending from the Illinois National Guard to the Bears-Niners: Sergeant Dylan Cardenas, Staff Sergeant Joshua Lyerla, Staff Sergeant Tomika Franks, Staff Sergeant Donisha Barry, and Staff Sergeant Devon West. We want to do a shout out again. Thank you to all of them for their service, and thank you to all the men and women throughout the nation and really the globe who are providing service and protecting our country and giving of themselves in that way. So you're an inspiration to all of us. Be safe and be proud as we are of you, and get home safely. Everybody take care. Enjoy the Niner Bear games. Let's go Niners. Back on a win. Let's go. Get rolling. And Bears, we will always love you in your own way. All right. Take care. See ya.
All right, everybody, thanks for sticking around for the show. Feeling very, very, very in my heart center right now, just from everything from Robbie and then from Oscar. And I loved how both of them, when we asked them what was giving them hope, it was about their family. And so, you know, whether it's, oh, I know you gave me hope too. But whether it's actually, you know, your blood family or the family that you choose, or a family or an organization that has become your team and your support network, maybe just put in a little, you know, if you need a little extra, don't be ashamed if you're feeling lonely. Just reach out if you guys need anything. We're also here. We can be your community. So Bruce is not on the Instagram, but I am. And we kind of pass everything along. But either way, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching our show. Thank you for sharing it. If you guys have the time or space or want to put the energy into it, if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, it definitely helps us to get our message out there. If you want to connect with us on social media, we're Hidden Pearls Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and then Hidden Pearls Pod on Twitter.
Wow, we're all those places.
We're everywhere. We are everywhere. Yeah, so, and if there's anything that you guys ever need or want to be a part of, we are open and we are here. So thank you guys so much, and go Niners.
Yeah, and we do read the emails. And so if you are alone and you're not sure who to reach out to, shoot us an email. Somebody will respond, and we'll try to hook you up with the right people. So
Yeah. info@thunderbirdperformance.com.
there you go. Get the info. All right. You good?
We're good. All right. Go Niners, baby.